Part 21. Fringe Artists in the Entertainment Industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 207. Chapter 202-200. I just want to spend my whole life. The black Mercedes-Benz drove through the bustling streets of Paris, and the scenery on the roadside flashed by like a kaleidoscope. Every frame through the car window was a beautiful photo. Li Dabai lay on the car window and looked at the scenery outside, her eyes full of curiosity and excitement. This was her first time going abroad, and Paris satisfied almost all her imagination. Soon the car stopped at an apartment in Paris, and Chen Lian and Lu Xiaoli, who were talking, also looked outside. "Mr. Chen, we've arrived." The driver turned back to Chen Lian and said. The driver's English was very good and his pronunciation was very standard. Lu Xiaoli also understood it, and said to Chen Lian with some unfinished words, "I'm here. Thank you for sending me here." "You're welcome," Chen Lian replied with a smile, then took out his Paris-specific business card from his pocket, handed it to Lu Xiaoli and said, "If you encounter any trouble, please contact me." Lu Xiaoli took the white business card, which only had Chen Lian's name and phone number written on it. It looked very high-end. Li Dabai sat nearby and watched. This was the first time she saw Chen Lian's business card. After Lu Xiaoli left, Li Dabai immediately squeezed next to Chen Lian and said, "Teacher Chen, do you still have your business card? I didn't know about it." Chen Lian glanced at Li Dabai and said, "That means you are not qualified as an assistant, and your salary will be deducted later." Li Dabai immediately puffed up his mouth and stopped talking. He could deduct anything but his salary. She also hopes that Chen Lian can give her a bonus to spend time in Paris. After being quiet for a while, Li Dabai suddenly remembered something, looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Teacher Chen, didn't you invite her to dinner tomorrow? She doesn't seem to have answered you yet." "Just a polite word." Chen Lian closed his eyes to rest and explained in a calm tone. Li Dabai was stunned for a moment. Is this Chinese politeness? Why did you feel that Teacher Chen was so sincere at that time? Sincere? Chen Lian feels that he is sincere to everyone, especially the beautiful ones. Li Dabai was also shouting sincerely at this time, "Teacher Chen. Is my boss so rich? Why is her family so big?" Chen Lian was looking at the note left by Jifa in front of the wine cabinet. He turned to look at the unfamiliar Li Dabai and didn't want to talk to her. Jifa is so stingy. Chen Lian ignored the warning on the note and reached out to take out a bottle of wine from the wine cabinet. However, Chen Lian still didn't touch the bottles of Jifa's special wine. If he really drank such expensive wine, Jifa would probably eat it alive. After Li Dabai walked around the villa, he ran back and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Teacher Chen, why don't you buy a villa? It's really great here, and there's a garden. There is also a garden in the courtyard. Why don't I see you so excited?" Chen Lian glanced at Li Dabai and said. Li Dabai said unconvinced, "How can it be the same? The courtyards in the capital are all shabby, how can they be as luxurious as here?" Chen Lian pulled out the cork, put the red wine under his nose and smelled it, then said, "It's just like drinking. White wine feels earthy to you, while red wine feels high-end. To put it bluntly, you see too much and drink too much. That's why I think other people's things are good." Chen Lian poured the wine into the decanter, looked at Li Dabai and said, "Jifa also likes the courtyard houses in the capital. If she hadn't been unable to buy them, she would have bought them long ago. Many things are due to the novelty. In fact, there are a few Chinese people who like to drink red wine. When it comes to the house of a courtyard house or a villa, more people will definitely choose the former. There are villas everywhere, but one courtyard house is sold less than one, so they are not of the same level in terms of value. Nowadays, many people in Beijing who sell courtyard houses, buy villas, and buy commercial houses will regret it in more than 10 years. After the wine sobered up for a while, Chen Lian poured a glass for Li Dabai and said, Try it and see if you like red wine or white wine. Li Dabai took the wine glass and took a sip. He immediately frowned and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Teacher Chen, why is this wine not sweet at all? It's different from what I drink in China." Chen Lian held back his smile and said, "The ones you drink in China are blended with grape juice, and there is also one blended with pomegranate juice, but it's quite delicious." Chen Lian quite liked that kind of wine. It was cheap and low quality, but sweet and delicious. It was particularly popular among the people, but it disappeared later. Okay, Li Dabai put down his wine glass with some disappointment and watched Chen Lian swaying the glass and tasting it slowly. He really couldn't figure out what he was tasting. Li Dabai lay on the sofa a little bored, looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Teacher Chen, are you going to Cannes tomorrow?" "Well, the opening is tomorrow." Chen Lian looked away from the spring scenery on Li Dabai's chest, put down the wine glass in his hand and said, "You can have whatever you want tonight, I'm going out later." Li Dabai immediately sat up and looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Then will you come back tonight?" "No return." Li Dabai looked at Chen Lian leaving with his bag, and couldn't help but sigh that Mr. Chen always had confidant wherever he went, and they were more dandy than playboys. But Li Dabai soon forgot about Chen Lian. Looking at the empty villa in front of him, he couldn't help but jump up and throw himself into the sofa, having fun as he wanted. "I want to take a bath first." Li Dabai jumped up from the sofa and walked to the bathroom, taking off his clothes as he walked. Before he reached the bathroom door, he took off his clothes completely, and his fair skin was glowing. Jump after jump. After Li Dabai put the water in the bathroom, he remembered something again and ran to the living room to take a sip of the glass of red wine into the bathroom. On the other side of Paris, Chen Lian opened the door to Sophie Marceau's apartment holding roses and the latest VCD. But before she could speak, Sophie Marceau's slender arms wrapped around her neck, blocking everything she wanted to say. The rose fell from Chen Lian's hand in an instant, and its red petals scattered all over the white ground, as if being blown by a strong wind and rain. The French rose is beautiful and full of charm. The pink buds are filled with crystal dew, and they will shrink when touched lightly. Their delicate and charming appearance is like a girl who wants to resist but welcomes you. People can't help but want to ravage her. After an unknown amount of time, Chen Lian picked up the rose that had been thrown on the ground, looked at the ravaged petals, and inserted it into the vase with pity to replenish its moisture. This trip to France was very tight. Not only did Chen Lian have to attend the Cannes Film Festival, he also had to shoot the latest VCD commercial. After attending the opening in Cannes, he also attended an art reception, invited by an art collector who had bought his works before. After the reception, he also had to be interviewed by an art magazine. In short, the 5-day itinerary was almost fully booked, most of which were arranged by Jifa at short notice. On the second day after arriving in Paris, Chen Lian drove sleepily in the car towards Cannes. Cannes is a seaside city with beautiful scenery along the way. It was also Chen Lian's first time here. But now he has no energy and is not interested in the scenery outside at all. He is just sleeping soundly on Li Dabai's shoulder. Li Dabai looked at the sleeping Chen Lian and couldn't help but cursed, "There are so many little goblins, you will be exhausted sooner or later." However, Li Dabai still admired Chen Lian. He still didn't forget to do business, and he was able to shoot the commercial in one night and all morning. He was really a master of time management. Seeing Chen Lian's peaceful appearance after falling asleep, Li Dabai couldn't help but reach out and gently hold his face to make him sleep more comfortably. It was unlikely that he would die from exhaustion. Chen Lian only slept for more than an hour and immediately felt energetic. After stretching comfortably, he looked at Li Dabai who was rubbing his shoulders and said, "How long until we arrive?" Li Dabai moved his shoulders and said, "There are still 10 minutes. Cannes is already very lively at this time. Filmmakers and audiences from all over the world gather here to browse this very beautiful city before the movie starts. Chen Lian looked at the scene outside the car window and felt that the Cannes Film Festival was much better than Venice, and more people came. However, it is rare to see Oriental faces among these filmmakers and tourists. This time, the domestic films shortlisted for the Cannes Film Festival are Fengyue, directed by Cheng and Ho Xiaoxian of Wanwan Province. After Chen Lian recalled it, he couldn't help but sigh. Neither of these two movies had any success this time. They were just running around. It's a pity for the movie Fengyue. If it could be filmed strictly according to the script like Farewell My Concubine, director Cheng's level will definitely win the award. I can't say the Palme d'Or, but there should be hope for the jury prize. But the most pity is Zhang Guorong. Director Cheng at least won the Palme d'Or, but Zhang Guorong's Farewell My Concubine failed to win the Best Actor due to a difference of 1 vote, and this movie has no hope. After arriving at the hotel where he was staying, Chen Lian asked Li Dabai to check in, and he went to meet director Cheng and Zhang Guorong. "Lian, you're here." Director Cheng came over with a smile and saw Chen Lian was extremely enthusiastic. Chen Lian smiled and stretched out his hand to shake director Cheng's hand and said, "Sorry, I'm a little late." The reason why director Cheng is so enthusiastic is very simple. In the past few days, the movie posters drawn by Chen Lian have been put up. Together with Chen Lian's makeup posters, the movie has received a lot of attention. Many French artists and filmmakers have asked if Chen Lian is coming. Chen Lian is well known in the Paris art world. Many artists know Chen Lian and were deeply impressed by Chen Lian's painting exhibition at the Pippin Cultural and Art Center last year. Director Cheng himself has a certain reputation in Cannes. This time, coupled with Chen Lian's reputation, the movie became a small hit before the opening. Zhang Guorong stood aside and looked at Chen Lian. His expression was extremely complicated, and he felt like he was trying not to hit him. "Why are you looking at me like this?" Chen Lian looked at Zhang Guorong's strange eyes, took the initiative to put his arm around his shoulders and said, "You don't blame me for being late, do you?" Zhang Guorong looked at Chen Lian and said in a melancholy tone, "Gong Li arrived 2 days ago. Xiao Xian originally planned to come with her, but was delayed by something. What do you think she would do if she saw Gong Li like she is now?" Hearing Zhang Guorong's words, Chen Lian put down his hands and said with a headache, "Have you told Xiao Xian?" Zhang Guorong was silent for a while and said, "No, what are you going to do now?" Chen Lian paused for a while and said, "I don't have any plans. Just take it one step at a time. I'll go see her first." After saying that, Chen Lian left. It has been 6 months now, so it should have been obvious. I don't know why Gong Li insisted on joining in the fun and participating in the film festival. But when Chen Lian saw Gong Li, he was surprised by her dress. Female celebrities all wear dresses to show off their figures. It would be too obvious for you to wear a robe. This dress is quite nice. The loose robe is embroidered with lotus flowers. It looks very dignified and fits the movie very well. Gong Li turned around gently and said, "How is it? Does it look good?" "It looks good." Chen Lian couldn't help but nod, and then asked curiously, "How did my brother see you dressed like this?" Gong Li said with some annoyance, "I didn't wear loose clothes that day. When he came over, the nanny opened the door directly." Chen Lian, "This may be fate. Zhang Guorong likes to join in the fun." Gong Li looked at Chen Lian's expression and said unhappily, "Are you worried that Wang Zuxian will know?" "How could that happen?" Chen Lian forced out a smile and said, "The pregnant woman's emotions still need to be taken care of." At first, Gong Li was just disappointed with men and wanted to have a child, but as her pregnancy got longer and longer, her thoughts changed and she began to think about many issues from a mother's perspective. What will the child do if he doesn't have a father? What should I do if I can't register? Do you want to immigrate abroad? If my child asks me about it in the future, how should I tell her that your father is a scumbag and doesn't want to get married? Gong Li pulled Chen Lian to sit down, touched her belly and said, "I can hear my heartbeat now. Do you want to listen? When Chen Lian heard the words, he immediately leaned down and listened close to Gong Li's belly. Gong Li looked at Chen Lian with a childlike smile on his face and suddenly asked, "Shall we get married?" As soon as these words came out, Chen Lian immediately raised his head and looked at her. The room was so quiet that he could hear the sound of waves in the distance. Chen Lian was silent for a while and said, "We agreed at the beginning. You said you just wanted a child. I thought you were ready. In fact, it doesn't matter if you don't get married." Chen Lian stopped talking in the middle of his sentence. How could it not affect him? But it would be better to just kill him than let him get married. If Gong Li forces himself, Chen Lian may hesitate, but there is a high probability that he will still run away. For a person who has no concept of family since childhood, a person who has no expectations for marriage, and a person who just wants to spend his whole life, it is better to destroy him directly if he is allowed to get married. Gong Li looked at Chen Lian for a while and then suddenly said with a smile, "I'm scaring you. I don't want to marry you, and I have to guard against you stealing food all day long." Looking at Gong Li's flawless smile, Chen Lian did not reveal it, but held her hand and said, "I will try my best to be a good father. I want to be a good father, but I can't be a husband. Isn't it even willing to be a bad husband?" Gong Li looked at the serious Chen Lian, a trace of disappointment flashed deep in her eyes. She chose her own path, and since Chen Lian was unwilling to change, she should follow her own path. The two of them tacitly agreed not to mention the topic just now, but got together and talked enthusiastically about what they would name their children in the future. Li Dabai, who had just checked in and packed up his things in another room, sat on the bed and looked at the sea view outside the floor-to-ceiling window. Looking at the waves, he couldn't help but mutter, "Teacher Chen is really too romantic. He is even the same as Gong Li. He has a leg. How many good sisters does he have? I thought I would have a chance when I came to France this time. It seems I'd better forget it, you big scumbag." Li Dabai fell on the bed depressedly and smothered himself in the pillow. Li Dabai was depressed for a while and suddenly thought of Lu Xiaoli, secretly muttering in his heart that this good sister probably wouldn't be able to run away either. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 208. Chapter 203-201. Director's Little Magic. Cannes is the highest hall of honor for many filmmakers, and it is also the dream stage for many actors. Gong Li has great expectations for this movie. Farewell My Concubine failed to win the Best Actress in 1993, and the same happened in 1994. In 1995, Shake Ah Shake to Grandma Bridge failed again. If this year's Fenjiao happens again, failure, such a setback would be difficult for her to accept. Perhaps because of this, the Cannes Film Festival later awarded her an official commemorative medal to make up for her repeated failures. An actor can have several opportunities like this in his life. It not only requires you to act well, but also the movie itself is good enough. Fenjiao itself is quite satisfactory, and Gong Li's performance in it is also quite satisfactory, even a little soft and not firm enough. Many people have confidence in this film, but many people have completely lost confidence in it, such as investor Su Feng. Su Feng was disappointed with the movie after watching the entire movie. In her words, every character in the movie was annoying and there was nothing lovable about it. When he came to Cannes in April to negotiate for film nominations, Su Feng suffered a fright in the hotel and suffered from a panic disorder. When he came to Cannes this time, he even came in a wheelchair. Chen Lian was a little surprised when he saw her, but thinking about the rumors about Thompson during this period, Chen Lian could understand her depression. Her husband's business failed and he was in a lot of trouble, and now the movie was a disappointment. Naturally, he had some mental problems under the double pressure. However, Su Feng was still a little happy to see Chen Lian. Last year, Extreme Cold won an award in Venice, and the copyright sold well. It was considered a good investment. Long time no see. Su Feng looked at Chen Lian from his wheelchair, seeming to remember the courtyard house in the capital, and when he deliberately teased him, there was a smile on his lips. Chen Lian squatted half-crouched, looked at Su Feng and said, "Is your health important?" "It's okay, just take good care of yourself and you'll be fine." Su Feng looked back at Director Cheng's room, the light in his eyes dimmed a lot, and said to Chen Lian, "They are waiting for you. Go in and watch the movie. I'm going back to rest." "Okay, then take care of yourself." Chen Lian looked at Su Feng being pushed away and couldn't help but sigh. God seemed to be unfriendly to her. "Teacher Chen, who is she?" Li Dabai, who came with Chen Lian, asked curiously and even made various preparations in his heart. The producer of the movie is also an investor. She helped invest money to complete the post-production process during the extreme cold before Chen Lian explained lightly, then adjusted his mood and said, "Let's go in and watch the movie." "Wait. Once you know how to go in, don't be so jumpy." Li Dabai stuck out his tongue slightly. Fortunately, it was not what he thought, just saying that Teacher Chen would not be so hungry. Li Dabai obediently followed Chen Lian into the room. Looking at the big star and director sitting inside, he couldn't help but feel excited. This could only be seen on TV, but now he could see it in real life. Whether it was Gong Li or Zhang Guorong, Li Dabai couldn't help but be excited. She had met many artists with Chen Lian, and she had also seen rising actresses like Ning Jing, but compared with Gong Li and Zhang Guorong, they were far different. If he hadn't remembered Chen Lian's instructions, Li Dabai would have wanted to ask Zhang Guorong for his autograph. Naturally, there were not only actors and directors in the room, but also photographers, screenwriters, artists, etc. Many people, like Chen Lian, had not seen the finished film yet. The day before the film festival started, we all gathered at Director Cheng's place to watch the finished film. At least we should know the quality and content of the film. Otherwise, when I watch other movies in the main competition tomorrow, I won't be able to compare them in my mind. Chen Lian's arrival made the room a little lively, especially Dukfan and art director Huang Qiagui were most interested in Chen Lian. Everyone is engaged in photography and art, so naturally they have many common topics, so before watching the movie, several of them started chatting, from movies to art to literature. The topics discussed were very wide, and almost everything that came to mind was discussed. Speaking of which, Chen Lian is also willing to talk about some happy things before watching the movie, otherwise he might be as depressed as Su Feng after the movie is over. Sitting in the corner, Li Dabai looked at Chen Lian, who was like a star holding the moon, and felt strange in his heart. These people were all big stars and directors, but they treated Chen Lian with great respect. Well, except for Zhang Guorong, he seems to have a problem with Chen Lian. Li Dabai wasn't sure if he was wrong. He always felt that Zhang Guorong looked at Chen Lian with the hatred of his father-in-law. Li Dabai, who was sitting in the corner, listened quietly to their chat, unable to get in a word. The topic was too high-end and his thinking was too jumping. Before he could understand the previous point, they changed the topic again. I could only be a silent listener. But Director Cheng soon took the initiative and suggested that we start watching a movie now. Everyone kept silent and waited for Director Cheng to show the movie. Soon the movie screen appeared on the TV, and Li Dabai immediately moved his chair forward. He couldn't get in the conversation, but he could understand the movie. Li Dabai waited with great anticipation for the movie to officially start, but the first scene that appeared shocked her. A little girl with braids and a belly band stood in front of a screen and smiled strangely. The flickering red candle light shone on the little girl's face, making it even more strange. Coupled with the bizarre voiceover and lines, the atmosphere of horror is directly filled. The high-pitched voice that is neither yin nor yang speaks puzzling lines. What is opium? My good daughter, opium is the beauty of heaven and earth. Listening to this line, Lee Dabai couldn't help but tremble. Is this a horror movie? From the name, shouldn't it be a romance movie? Lee Dabai couldn't help but turn his head and glance at Chen Lian, and found that he also frowned slightly, and he felt even more strange. What kind of movie was this? The director's world is so difficult to understand. Lee Dabai felt that he might not be able to understand this movie just like he had listened to them chatting before. The movie continued to play, and Gong Li couldn't help but secretly pulled Chen Lian's palm and whispered in his ear, "This is different from what I thought. How did it be done like this in the later stage?" Chen Lian replied in a low voice, "Why else? In order to show the distortion of human nature in feudal society and the male dominance of women, I accidentally used too much force." After listening to Chen Lian's nonsense, Gong Li was too lazy to talk to him, and began to worry about the plot behind it. Movies are not only the art of acting and directing, but also the art of editing. Editing and post-production are very important. Different arrangements and combinations of the same pictures will produce earth-shaking changes. The simplest example, I hit a girl on the subway. She took a picture of me with her cell phone and scolded me. She called the police and I was caught. If the order is adjusted, the result will be different immediately. She took a picture of me with her mobile phone and scolded me. I couldn't help but hit her. I called the police and was arrested. No one knows what the shots during the shooting will look like before they are finally edited into a movie, and no one knows what color filters will be added to the shots. It is very likely that the original meaning of the actor's performance will be completely subverted. This is the director's little magic. The director can use the language of the camera to enhance the actor's performance, or he can subvert your performance. Soon in the movie, Zhang Guorong appeared, with a close-up, a confused expression, biting the earlobes of each woman, saying disgusting love words, and then taking away their earrings. If viewed from a single shot, Leslie Cheung's performance and charm will be well presented, but when many such shots are combined, the charm disappears and becomes frivolous, exaggerated and somewhat vulgar. Just like writing a novel, if the same plot appears too many times, it will become boring, and readers will point their noses at you and scold you. Such quick cuts greatly reduced Zhang Guorong's charm and turned him into a somewhat annoying little gangster. Zhang Guorong in the movie is a cheater who deceives women's feelings to make money, but the most important thing is to show his ability to deceive women and show his charm. The feeling presented by this kind of editing is very Western, very Hollywood, a charming playboy who can make women fascinated by just blinking his eyes. It feels too stylized, and Chen Lian feels very bad. The shots are obviously great, and although the script has some flaws, it shouldn't have such an effect. Chen Lian couldn't help but glance at Zhang Guorong and found that he was also frowning and seemed a little unacceptable. After worrying about others, Chen Lian began to worry about himself again. With Zhang Guorong being cut like this, he probably couldn't escape the bad luck. I hope I won't make myself look too perverted. Chen Lian calmed down and started to watch the plot carefully. Soon it was time for Chen Lian to appear in the scene. After watching it for a while, Chen Lian felt relieved. Fortunately, his role was relatively simple, and there were relatively few scenes, so he was not cut out by director Chang. However, Gong Li's shots are a bit disappointing. It is obviously intended to portray a bold and rebellious woman, but a lot of hazy white light and filters are used. Chen Lian looked at the strange and hazy light in the picture. It was difficult to put a strong and rebellious woman into the role, and he felt sorry for Gong Li. This kind of picture only shows a kind of neurotic morbidity, which is beautiful but not exciting enough. As the movie continued to play, the room became more and more silent. At first, everyone chatted from time to time, but now they have closed their mouths and don't want to talk anymore. In particular, Chen Lian didn't want to talk the most. Why did he feel more and more perverted as he went on? Although the plot and the emotional direction of the characters were like this, the editing and camera amplified this feeling. There is no such thing as the edge-to-edge temptation and restraint and the final explosion that Chen Lian used in his acting. The movie feels like a lively licking dog evolving into a perverted and dark little person. Li Dabai, who had been working hard to understand the movie, was now filled with questions. What kind of movie is this? What a bunch of lunatics. After the movie ended for more than an hour, the lights came on in the room, but no one spoke. They were all still immersed in the shock brought by the movie and couldn't let go for a long time. Li Dabai clearly felt the oppressive atmosphere in the room at this time. He grabbed the chair with both hands and moved it back carefully, not daring to make a sound. How do you feel after watching it? Director Cheng looked at the people who were immersed in shock and felt extremely satisfied with the movie. Chen Lian opened and pursed his lips, and in the end he only said, "It's a little different from what I thought, but the photo was beautiful. The shots are indeed beautiful, the scenes are beautiful, and the actors are also beautiful, but they just don't look pretty together. Individually, each part is on the passing line or even considered excellent, but when combined, it becomes a bit strange." Chen Lian only said half of what he said, but he didn't want to say anything else. The post-production of the film was finished and it was sent to the jury of the Cannes Film Festival. It was too late to say anything, so he might as well say a few words of praise to make director Cheng happy. As a human being, the most important thing is to be happy. Director Cheng is the director. He can shoot how he wants and edit how he wants. Movies are the director's art. As an actor, if you give a qualified performance, you are worthy of your job. Gong Li is the most disappointed. She originally expected to win a Best Actress award, but now it seems her hope is slim. The language of the camera made her performance develop in another direction. As long as the jury is not stupid, she will not be awarded the Best Actress, unless the heroines in other movies have performed poorly. But where does the if come from? Seeing the complacent and expectant look in director Cheng's eyes, Gong Li sighed slightly in her heart, squeezed out a smile and said, "Lian is right, the photo is beautiful, I like it very much. As long as you like it. A lot of effort has been put into this movie, and it will live up to expectations." Director Cheng smiled smugly. He was very satisfied with the movie, and even thought that Feng Yu is no worse than Farewell My Concubine. Gong Li's copy and paste seemed to open up other people's ideas, and they all said that it was beautifully shot, the camera was beautiful, the acting was good, and the story was very deep. Director Cheng is a great director. The film festival starts tomorrow, so there is no point in finding fault. And how to judge the quality of a movie, everyone has different standards in their minds. As actors Chen Lian, they didn't think it was very good, but as photographers and artists, Dukfan and Huang Qiagui thought it was very good. But let the judges decide the final outcome, in case they win the prize. The atmosphere in the room became lively again, everyone was chatting casually, and some even suggested having a drink together. Li Dabai looked at the scene and a big question popped up in his little head. Is this movie really good? Why don't I think it's very good? Is there something wrong with my aesthetics? Zhang Guorong took out a cigarette and held it in his hand, looked at Chen Lian and asked softly, "Lian, do you think it is possible to win the prize this time?" "Probably not. European filmmakers don't like this style." After Chen Lian replied, he took away the cigarette from Leslie Chung's finger and said, "Don't you know what your body is like? What kind of cigarettes do you smoke? Sister Shifen asked me. I'm staring at you, and I can't even smell the smell of cigarette smoke." Chen Lian said the last sentence loudly, and then winked at the confused Zhang Guorong. Gong Li couldn't help but snickered at the side, but she felt very happy in her heart. Several other people in the room who were planning to smoke put down their cigarettes after hearing Chen Lian's words, or ran to the balcony to smoke. Zhang Guorong looked at Chen Lian and his teeth were itching with anger, but when he thought that Gong Li was pregnant now, he snorted and didn't bother to expose Chen Lian. Perhaps because he had to go to the balcony to smoke a cigarette, The lively atmosphere in the room cooled down quickly, and after a while someone suggested going back to rest. After coming out of the room, John Kwarong originally wanted to ask them to have a drink together, but seeing Gong Li walking with her waist slightly supported, he shook his head and went back to his room. Gong Li held Chen Lian's arm and whispered, "Come here tonight and rub your legs for me. My legs are so sore recently." "Yeah, but you have to be more honest." Chen Lian was really worried when he thought about how Gong Li sometimes went crazy. Gong Li rolled her eyes at Chen Lian and said, "What can I do if I'm so dishonest now?" "I'm afraid you're dishonest. You haven't explained to me what's going on with your assistant." Li Dabai, who was following Chen Lian and Gong Li, vaguely heard them talking about him, and immediately pricked up his ears like a wary rabbit. Chen Lian said nonchalantly, "What's the point of finding an assistant to explain?" Gong Li turned her head slightly and glanced at Li Dabai's beautiful face and proud figure. She reached out and pinched Chen Lian's waist and asked, "Are you just trying to make someone look good? You must have bad intentions again." "Chen Lian, I said she brought it to the door by herself. You won't believe me and can't explain it. You are not afraid of slanted shadows when you are upright. I don't know if the shadow is slanted or not, but Chen Lian is not upright right now. He is leaning over to support Gong Li, who has sore feet when walking." In the quiet corridor of the hotel, Li Dabai looked at Chen Lian walking with his arms around Gong Li and felt so strange. Why was he still holding on to the Empress Dowager Cixi? Gong Li's aura is really like that of a queen, but she doesn't know if she can manage teacher Chen's harem well. Li Dabai tilted his head and thought for a while, wondering whether he should go to worship the mountain. Not to mention being a concubine, being a royal minister, and being a personal palace maid should be no problem. "No, I am an assistant now, right?" Li Dabai shook his head, ran 2 steps to catch up with Chen Lian and asked, "Teacher Chen, do you have any other arrangements for the evening?" "No, you can go back and rest." Chen Lian shook his head, but was worried about Li Dabai's English, and seriously warned, "Don't get up late tomorrow morning, set more alarm clocks, the hotel restaurant has breakfast on the 6th floor. It's self-service, come find me after you finish." "Yeah, don't worry, it won't happen." After Li Dabai nodded in agreement, he gave Gong Li a sweet and polite smile and ran back to his room. When Li Dabai's figure disappeared around the corner, Gong Li looked at Chen Lian with a half smile but said, "You are quite gentle to her. You are clearly the boss and the assistant. What nonsense are you talking about? Go back to bed quickly." Chen Lian interrupted Gong Li and helped her back to the room. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 209. Chapter 204-202. Is my wine glass useful? Boom, boom, boom. Teacher Chen, I'm Dabai and I'm here to give you clothes. In the slightly noisy hotel corridor, Li Dabai stood outside the door of Gong Li's room holding a custom-made suit. Gong Li, who was putting on makeup in the room, said to Chen Lian, "Your assistant is here. Go open the door. By the way, don't let her in." "Yeah, I know." Chen Lian got up from the sofa and opened the door. Li Dabai handed the suit in his hand to Chen Lian and looked into the room furtively. Chen Lian gave her a big chestnut. "Why did teacher Chen hit me?" Li Dabai covered his head and looked at Chen Lian. Chen Lian glanced at her and saw that she was still wearing a t-shirt and jeans, and asked, "Are you going to wear this to the opening ceremony?" Li Dabai looked down at his outfit and said, "I think it's pretty good. I don't want to walk on the red carpet." This was true. Chen Lian looked at the thick suit in his hand and felt a little envious. Then he closed the door resentfully. Li Dabai outside the door was stunned for a moment, thinking that Chen Lian disliked him for dressing too casually, but he didn't have a dress to wear, but he did have a nice white skirt, so he went back and changed into it. Don't embarrass Teacher Chen. After entering the room, Chen Lian threw his suit on the bed and sat next to Gong Li, boredly watching her put on makeup. There is still more than an hour before the opening ceremony. Chen Lian has no expectations for the red carpet part of the opening ceremony. It doesn't matter whether he is handsome or not. Anyway, men always wear suits. Whether he is handsome or not is not about his appearance. Chen Lian is currently thinking about whether to wear sunglasses when walking on the red carpet. The dense flashlights are very scary. Half an hour later, Chen Lian changed his clothes and went downstairs with Gong Li. Director Cheng and the others were already waiting in the hotel lobby. Li Dabai also put on a white skirt, which showed off her figure perfectly. Chen Lian took a few more glances and felt the soft flesh around her waist being pinched. You like watching it so much? You can go back to your room at night and watch it, there's no need to come over. Gong Li's slightly chilling voice sounded in Chen Lian's ears, which was really scary. You can't afford to offend a woman at this time. Chen Lian forced out an awkward smile, and then walked towards the handsome Zhang Guorong, getting rid of Gong Li's clutches. Not bad, he looks so handsome in it. Chen Lian looked at Zhang Guorong, who was wearing a white suit, and said with a smile. Leslie Chung gave Chen Lian a narcissistic look, then looked at him and said, "You're not bad, but don't stand next to me later." "Why? Don't you think our black and white match well?" Chen Lian pointed at the clothes on their bodies and said. Zhang Guorong raised his hand angrily to indicate his height and said, "You are taller than me, which will make me look short." Chen Lian, then I'd better go with Director Cheng, he is taller. After chatting for a while, Li Dabai ran to Chen Lian and asked, "Teacher Chen, can I wear this skirt? I won't embarrass you, right?" Chen Lian secretly glanced at Gong Li, who was talking to Director Cheng, and said, "It's not shameful. She looks pretty. Why aren't you wearing a t-shirt and jeans? Don't you dislike me for dressing too casually?" Li Dabai puffed his lips and said with some resentment. "When did I give up on it?" Just as Chen Lian was about to explain, Director Cheng on the other side shouted, "Lian, it's almost time, it's time to go." "Here we come," Chen Lian responded, then looked at Li Dabai and said, "Take the invitation letter. You and Mr. Su will go in together later." "Yeah, take it." "Okay, don't get lost. I'm leaving first. You go find Mr. Su." At the opening ceremony of the film festival, the reporters who came were all dressed in formal attire. If they weren't holding cameras in their hands, they would be no different from celebrities. At the edge of the dozens of meters long red carpet, a black Mercedes-Benz slowly stopped at the entrance. Director Cheng, who was sitting in the car, looked at the flashing lights outside, adjusted his expression, turned his head to Chen Lian and the others in an extremely elegant and confident manner, and said, "It's our turn to appear." There were only the director and the three leading actors in this car. Sci-fi was supposed to come over, but she was busy giving birth and didn't have time to come over. Director Cheng opened the car door and got out of the car first, followed closely by Gong Li. As soon as he got off the car, many reporters were attracted to take photos frantically, and the organizers' cameras were also pointed here. Gong Li took the initiative to stand next to Director Cheng and politely held her arm. Chen Lian, who was sitting in the car, couldn't help but said to Zhang Guorong, "It seems that you can only team up with me now." Zhang Guorong turned around and glared at Chen Lian angrily, then put on a smile and got out of the car coolly. Chen Lian couldn't help but smile, and then he put on a smile and got out of the car door. He was instantly surrounded by flashing lights. After squinting his eyes slightly and looking at the red carpet, Chen Lian took the initiative to stand next to Zhang Guorong and secretly winked at him, but this scene was captured by reporters. After everyone stood up, Director Cheng took the initiative to walk towards the red carpet with confident steps. Gong Li's Suzhou embroidered robe attracted the attention of many reporters. Chen Lian and Zhang Guorong, who were half a step behind, could only serve as backdrops. Gong Li is still popular in the three major film festivals. Her popularity is really high, and almost everyone doesn't know her. Chen Lian, who was walking behind, was really worried that Gong Li's pregnancy would be discovered, but looking at her full aura and her robe gently fluttering in the evening breeze, it was hard to see her bulging belly. Several people walked on the dozens of meters long red carpet for several minutes, stopping several times and posing in many poses. What surprised Chen Lian the most was that a reporter called out his name and took photos of him specially. A few photos. After entering the main venue, there were no annoying flashes. Chen Lian breathed a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to loosen his tie and relax, he saw Sophie Marceau waving to him inside the venue. Chen Lian coughed lightly and said to Gong Li, "I met an old friend. I'll go over and say hello." Gong Li glanced at Sophie Marceau, who was looking over here, and said to Chen Lian, "Go, Director Cheng and I are also going to meet a few familiar judges." Zhang Quarong glanced around, then patted Chen Lian on the shoulder, and followed Gong Li and Director Cheng away. "You are very beautiful today," Chen Lian asked with a smile as he looked at the dressed-up Sophie Marceau. Sophie Marceau gently held Chen Lian's arm, looked in the direction of Gong Li and asked, "Is she as beautiful as her?" "You are the most beautiful rose in France, and she is the noble peony in the East. They are both beautiful. So do you like roses or peonies?" "Like it all. I also like how shameless and greedy you are. I thought you liked my wild look best." Sophie Marceau chuckled and whispered in Chen Lian's ear, "Then can I see your wild look tonight?" The warm breath made Chen Lian's ears and heart itch, and he immediately said very gentlemanly, "A gentleman will never refuse a beautiful girl." Sophie Marceau blinked at Chen Lian, and then whispered, "See you tonight, someone has already noticed us." Chen Lian turned his head when he heard this, and sure enough he saw someone pointing a camera here and preparing to take pictures. "Then I'll leave first. See you in the evening." Chen Lian let go of Sophie Marceau, nodded slightly, then turned and left. The openings of the film festivals are all very similar. After the festival chairman came to the stage to speak, the opening film was played. Unfortunately, the opening film was not the romance, but the British film Secrets and Lies. According to Big Data, the premiere movie at the opening ceremony is often the best movie of the year. The directors of this film, Mike Lee and director Cheng, are very close. They also competed together at Cannes in 1993. However, Farewell My Concubine won the Palme d'Or, while Mike Lee won the Best Director. After 3 years of competing on the same stage again, the outcome was completely opposite. However, no one can guarantee the final result until the closing ceremony. Director Cheng does not have the foresight of Chen Lian, so he still has great expectations for the grand prize. Despite expectations, Director Cheng was actually a little disappointed. After all, the premiere of the film represented the recognition of the film by the jury and the presidium. In Chen Lian's opinion, disappointment is good. If you get used to disappointment from the opening ceremony, you won't be so sad by the closing ceremony. Chen Lian cursed unkindly in his heart, but he was actually more worried about Fenjiu's premiere tomorrow. He didn't know whether there would be good or bad reviews then. The opening film ended quickly. Secrets and Lies was indeed well shot, and the subject matter is very suitable for Western tastes. An illegitimate daughter searches for her biological mother and becomes friends with her. How can Fenjiu win with such a theme? At the end of the movie, several people looked at each other, feeling less confident in their hearts. However, the director was still very confident on the surface and did not show any timidity. When Chen Lian looked at director Cheng like this, he couldn't help but give a thumbs up in his heart. To do art, you need such confidence. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you create good works? Even if others call you bad, you can't think that you are bad. Director Cheng's success as a director was not promoted by marketing. He was truly talented and confident. Although he failed several times later, it did not prevent him from succeeding. What do you think of Brenda's performance? Gong Li felt a little unconfident now. Women during pregnancy are worried about gains and losses. Chen Lian gently held her hand and said, in terms of performance alone, I'm almost the same as you. What about playing word games? It can't be compared with movies, right? Gong Li couldn't help but roll her eyes at Chen Lian, secretly scratched his palm and whispered, if Director Chen hears this, he will probably be mad at you. Chen Lian shrugged his shoulders and said, it's okay to hear it. Art is a subjective experience. Everyone likes it differently. I like your performance, others like Brenda's performance, we can't say who is good or bad. Gong Li snorted softly and said, you are sophistry. Just like your philandering, you always have various reasons. Chen Lian coughed and said, then do you want to hear my reason for not going back tonight? If you don't want to hear it, go wherever you like. Okay. Sophie Marceau lives not in a hotel in Cannes, but in her own apartment. Regardless of whether there is a film festival in Cannes, it is a very good city, and many people will buy real estate here. When you go to the south of France for vacation, you can also go to several nearby wine regions to taste new wines every year. Chen Lian left alone after the opening ceremony, preparing to go around to find Sophie Marceau. Li Dabai stood next to Gong Li and looked at Chen Lian's leaving figure. He couldn't help but ask curiously, Sister Huang, will you let him go? Yellow what? Gong Li turned to look at Li Dabai's slightly confused expression. Instead of answering her question, she asked, you have been Lian's assistant for a long time, right? How many have you met? Li Dabai was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect the Queen's question to be so straightforward. He didn't know whether to say it or not. What if the Queen, Gong Li deceived her, wouldn't that mean she betrayed Teacher Chen? Seeing Li Dabai's tangled look, Gong Li recalled Chen Lian's previous itinerary and said, you probably don't know Mr. Zhou, Sophie Marceau, Bai Qing, Wang Zuxian, and the princess. Have you met Chen Myron? He must be in school. They're not honest either, there should be a few more. Listening to the names Gong Li announced one by one, Li Dabai opened his mouth in surprise. He couldn't believe there were so many. The most important thing is that Gong Li looks so calm and collected, she really looks like the empress in charge of the harem. Li Dabai wanted to salute and call the queen good luck, so he rolled over and exposed his belly for her to scratch. Li Dabai, who was shocked for a while, suddenly thought of a very serious question. Was Gong Li talking about Wang Zuxian just now? And the Queen of Heaven? Is there another Beauty Chen? This is simply too scary. Li Dabai felt that his worldview and understanding of Chen Lian had been severely refreshed. Looking at the stupid Li Dabai, Gong Li sighed slightly and said, now you know why I didn't stop him. You can become his assistant in the future and slowly get used to it. Li Dabai nodded cutely, how do you get used to this kind of thing? There is a lot of pressure to keep secrets. Now I understand why Jifa gave him such good benefits and why he signed a confidentiality agreement. Li Dabai swallowed, looked at Gong Li and asked in a low voice, aren't you afraid that I will tell you? Just say it, who do you think will believe it? Gong Li waved her hands indifferently, looked at Li Dabai and said seriously, and I believe that Lian definitely believes in you when he chooses you as his assistant. So I believe in you too. Listening to Gong Li's words, Li Dabai immediately felt a happy feeling of being trusted. Yes, Teacher Chen has never hidden anything from herself, and the Queen also believes in herself. I must not betray their trust. This matter must not be left unsaid. No matter whether anyone believes it or not, it cannot be said out. What if someone believes it? By then, the domestic entertainment industry, no, the European entertainment industry will explode. Teacher Chen will definitely become the most famous man in the world in one fell swoop. Chen Lian doesn't want to be the most famous man in the world, he just wants to be a happy man, and he just wants to taste red wine from the Cannes region in Sophie Marceau's apartment. In the warm apartment, the romantic candlelight swayed gently. In the dim light, the deep red wine streaked through the air along the rim of the transparent glass, and then dripped onto the fair and charming white rose petals. The combination of red and white is particularly sexy. Sophie Marceau stretched out her finger to dip a little red wine, looked at Chen Lian and said, "You always like to drink like this. Is my cup so useful?" "The cup is made of French roses." "Of course it's good. I'll drink up a bottle of wine." Chen Lian looked at Sophie Marceau with a chuckle and leaned over to finish the wine he just poured. The red wine stained with the fragrance of white roses had a different flavor. Chen Lian licked his lips without feeling satisfied. "Unfortunately, we only prepared one bottle of red wine tonight, but the romantic night continues." Looking at the flickering candle, Chen Lian gently picked up his wrist and shook it slightly, and a drop of hot wax oil fell on the white rose. The white rose petals trembled slightly, and the buds shrank slightly, making a silent cry. Sophie Marceau seemed to have drunk a little too much, her face was red, and there were thin beads of sweat on her forehead. "Is it hot? Let me open the window and let some air flow." Chen Lian walked to the window and pulled back the curtains, opened the window, let the sea breeze of Cannes blow in, and let the beautiful night view come into view. Looking at the beautiful night view outside, Sophie Marceau walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and pressed her palms against the glass as if she wanted to touch the white waves rising on the sea. Under the stimulation of alcohol, Sophie Marceau felt dizzy, as if surrounded by waves, and the waves kept beating, and her whole body seemed to be floating on the sea. The night in Cannes is full of romance and passion, and the air seems to be filled with the smell of waves, making people unable to help but indulge in such a wonderful night. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 210. Chapter 205-203. Director Chen didn't cry when he fell off the altar. When the first ray of sunshine sets in the morning, the city of Cannes is already bustling with activity. During the 10 days of the film festival, movies will be screened every morning at 9 o'clock and will continue until evening. In addition to movie screenings, there will also be various parties in various coffee shops or bars in Cannes. During these 10 days, filmmakers from all over the world will gather together to communicate. The film festival can no longer be regarded as an ordinary film event, but a grand event for international cultural exchange. Chen Lian was woken up by Sophie Marceau at 7 in the morning. This delicate rose was very busy today. As a business card of France, there were too many activities to participate in. After Sophie Marceau went out, Chen Lian simply packed up and went out. The premiere of Fringe is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is a very good time slot. Chen Lian does not have to go to meet director Cheng and the others so early. It's also good to take this opportunity to walk around Cannes. Cannes and Paris have different scenery, which brought a lot of freshness to Chen Lian. Especially on the beach, you can always see a lot of beautiful scenery. The only pity is that it is only May, the highest temperature is only over 20 degrees, and the scenery on the beach is not attractive enough. Chen Lian walked along the coast, taking off his shoes and stepping on the wet gravel. When the waves rushed up, the cold sea water submerged his ankles, which was very cool and comfortable. Chen Lian enjoyed the tranquility of this moment, but this tranquility was broken when Li Dabai suddenly appeared. Li Dabai was wearing a white shirt and jeans, holding his shoes in his hand, and ran up to Chen Lian with inquiry and admiration in his eyes. "Teacher Chen, I saw you walking alone on the beach when I was in the hotel." Chen Lian turned his head and glanced in the direction of the hotel, which was almost a few hundred meters away, and asked curiously, "Do you have such good eyesight? Can you see me from so far away?" "Ang," Li Dabai raised his head proudly, and then said with a smile, there is a viewing telescope in my room. Chen Lian. Teacher Chen, why are you here for a walk alone? Li Dabai walked up to Chen Lian with his hands behind his back, looked at him and asked curiously, were you dumped by Sophie Marceau? Chen Lian. Chen Lian was not moved by Li Dabai's concern, he just wanted to give her a headache. Seeing that Chen Lian didn't want to talk, Li Dabai also calmed down and walked crookedly behind Chen Lian, following his footsteps. After walking for a while, Chen Lian turned back to look at Li Dabai and asked, are you 20 years old this year? Li Dabai, who was trying to aim at Chen Lian's footprints, raised his head and hummed. His white and tender feet were covered with fine sand, and his nimble toes kept twisting, trying to rub the sand away from the gaps between his toes. Chen Lian lowered his head and admired it for a while, then remembered what he was about to ask, so he asked directly, have you thought about what you will do in the future? Do you have any plans? You want to fire me? Li Dabai raised his head and looked at Chen Lian with an aggrieved expression. Last night he vowed to be a loyal assistant. Chen Lian laughed dumbly, looked at Li Dabai and said, I'm not firing you, but you are only 20 years old. Are you going to be an assistant for the rest of your life? Li Dabai pinched his fingers, and the white shoes in his hand were dangling. He looked at Chen Lian and said softly, isn't it possible? I think it would be good to be an assistant. Seeing Li Dabai like this, Chen Lian shook his head in a funny way and said, of course, but I still suggest you think about it carefully, because by following me, your career has reached its peak, and there is no place for you if you want to be promoted. For you. It doesn't matter if you get promoted or not, as long as the salary is raised. Li Dabai looked at Chen Lian with a smile. As long as he didn't get fired, he could say anything. Chen Lian nodded and said, okay, if you want to film or do other things someday, you can tell me and I will help you arrange it. Li Dabai lowered his head and looked at the waves rushing up. He didn't listen to Chen Lian's words at all. If you want to be promoted in the future, just go to the Queen. Who is going to look for you? Chen Lian was not aware of the assistant's betrayal. After strolling at the beach for a while, he was ready to go back. Chen Lian wiped the sand off his feet, put on his shoes, and watched Li Dabai clean the sand on his feet with his slender fingers. He felt a little regretful that he didn't bring a camera with him. Cute and sexy, Li Dabai at this age is simply a representative of pure lust. Li Dabai put the white socks on his feet, put them on little by little, and deliberately flashed them in front of Chen Lian before putting on his shoes with a smile on his face. Chen Lian felt funny about the little girl's movie, so he hit his head and said, let's go back to the hotel. Li Dabai followed Chen Lian and complained softly from behind, Teacher Chen, please don't knock me on the head again. Oh, do you agree or not? Oh, that's right. On the coast of the blue sea and sky, the two figures one behind the other and the boring conversation all have a hint of youth. In the Hitchcock Theatre, the main venue of the 4 o'clock film festival, the premiere of Fenyu is about to begin. Many people have come to the venue and it will soon be full. Jill Jacob, the director of the Cannes Film Festival, and Francis Ford Coppola, the president of the jury, who made The Godfather, were also here. In addition to these two people, Ponte Carlo, the chairman of the Venice Film Festival, also came. Chen Lian and this little old man talked several times when they were in Venice last year and were familiar with each other. Everyone is still looking forward to director Cheng's work. After all, he is an excellent director who has made Yellow Earth and Farewell My Concubine. We are all looking forward to what kind of movies he will bring this time. In addition, many media from Europe are also here. No matter who these reporters are here for, it can be seen that the movie Fenjiu is still very popular at the film festival. Chen Lian looked at director Cheng, who was chatting with Jacob and the others, and did not go over to join in the fun. He was currently accepting an impromptu interview. The art critic Klaus, who I met during the launch in Paris last year, took out the notebook he carried with him after catching Chen Lian here and wanted to interview him. Chen Lian glanced at the time and said to Klaus, "I only have less than 10 minutes. The movie is about to start. Maybe we can change the time. 10 minutes is enough. I have very few questions, only 3. My next column will depend on you." Klaus did not give Chen Lian a chance to escape. For 3 questions, 10 minutes was indeed enough. Chen Lian nodded in agreement, sat in the audience with Klaus, and began a very simple and casual interview. Klaus didn't waste time to be polite and asked the first question directly. "I saw the photos of your installation art in China, Tide series, Red. Many people are very interested in this work. I want to asking about your creative inspiration and the meaning of the Wave series. China is in the midst of changes of the times. It is the rapid development of society that gives me the urge to create. I will record China in the times in the Wave series, in this way." Second question, "What do you think of China's artistic trends? I heard that you almost started a second trend of thought. The emergence of artistic trends means that everyone has questions and doubts about current art, just like Europe's current artistic reflections. As for the so-called second wave of thoughts, it is a complete misunderstanding. We are just a group of ordinary artists, and we do not even have any understanding of China. Contemporary art generates too many doubts, and there is no possibility of forming a trend of thought at the source." The third question is, "How do you view the place of film art in contemporary art?" This question is very general and vague. There should be no clear hierarchy in contemporary art, and there is no so-called positional issue. If we really want to discuss film art, there is too much to say, and we may not have enough time. Klaus was writing and drawing in his notebook, and the recording pen in his hand was also on. After hearing Chen Lian's answer, he looked at the time and said with a smile, "There are still 4 minutes left, maybe I can ask a few more questions." Of course, Chen Lian nodded with a smile. 4 minutes passed quickly. Jacob and director Chen in front of the screen also came down from the stage, and the movie officially started. The theater was very quiet, everyone was waiting for the movie to play. Gong Li sat next to Chen Lian and asked quietly, "Did you just accept an interview?" "Yeah, but it has nothing to do with the movie," Chen Lian explained. Gong Li nodded slightly, stopped talking and started watching the movie seriously. After more than an hour, the movie ended. There was sparse applause in the theater, and most people were whispering and discussing, seeming to have great doubts about the movie. Director Cheng's face no longer looked as confident as before, and he listened solemnly to everyone's discussion. Chen Lian and Gong Li looked at each other, both surprised and not surprised by the current situation. Zhang Guorong's reaction was also very dull. He has been nominated for Best Actor countless times, and the movies he has made have received mixed reviews. He has long been used to this kind of thing. Soon in the following interactive session of the interview, many people gave negative comments. Director Cheng's face became increasingly ugly. If it were just the comments of ordinary viewers, he might not care. But Venice Film Festival President Ponte Carlo disparaged it in public, saying that the gangsters and drugs in the film were a parody of Hollywood gangster movies. This almost broke director Cheng's guard, and he almost couldn't maintain his elegant demeanor. Chen Lian glanced at Ponte Carlo and secretly sighed that this little old man was really merciless in his words. However, such an evaluation basically ruined any possibility of Fengjia winning the award. It's not impossible for controversial movies to win awards, but it's hard to get all negative reviews. Chen Lian even heard some domestic viewers discussing in a low voice, saying that this was not the story of a pretty boy hooking up with a young lady in the old days, and how good it was to film. Chen Lian wanted to refute, but judging from the story alone, there was nothing wrong with what they said. It's difficult. Chen Lian sighed and said to Gong Li, "I guess the domestic release will be a problem." "It shouldn't happen, right?" Gong Li looked at Chen Lian in surprise. Chen Lian rubbed the corners of his eyebrows and said, "It all depends on Director Chang. If you want it to be released, there is a high chance that you will have to change it. If you can win an award, you may still have a chance." Gong Li thought for a while and said, "Director Cheng's girlfriend is Ni." Chen Lian coughed lightly and said, "Then it depends on their energy. Farewell My Concubine was released only after winning the award. Okay, let's stop talking. I feel like Director Cheng wants to curse. I'll go over and comfort him." Gong Li stood up helplessly and walked towards Director Cheng. Gong Li's reputation in Europe is still very high. When the old man Ponte Carlo saw Gong Li standing up, he didn't continue to say anything. The reporters also focused on Gong Li at this time. Director Cheng was able to take a breather temporarily, but his face was still ugly after listening to those unfriendly comments. It's ugly as long as it's ugly. As a director, it's natural to withstand criticism. Director Cheng has been listening to compliments for more than 10 years, and now there's nothing wrong with hearing different voices. However, things seemed not as simple as everyone imagined. On the second day of the premiere, when Chen Lian was about to return to Paris to say goodbye to Director Cheng, the sound of objects being thrown could clearly be heard in the room. Li Dabai followed Chen Lian and heard it, and asked in a low voice, "Teacher Chen, Director Cheng seems to be cursing." "I'm not deaf. Come back later." Chen Lian turned around and left. At this time, Director Cheng probably didn't want to see anyone, and he didn't want others to see his incompetent and furious look. I hope that Director Cheng will not hide in his room and cry alone. I hope that Director Cheng's host girlfriend can give him some comfort. I just don't know if Director Cheng will go and propose marriage after the film festival is over. It's just that Chen Myron is now in the shape of Chen Lian and has nothing to do with him. It's a bit tragic to see Director Cheng like this. Chen Myron, who was far away in China, suddenly sneezed, then rubbed her belly and comforted her softly, "Don't be afraid, baby, it's Daddy who is missing Mommy." Chen Lian shook his head and stopped teasing Director Cheng in his heart. He thought he had gotten an advantage and should not act like a good boy. Maybe Director Cheng and his girlfriend are fine, and maybe they will be happier in the future. Who knows what will happen? Chen Lian came to Gong Li's room and told her what he had just heard. Gong Li threw 2 newspapers directly to him, sighed and said, "Director Cheng was scolded badly this time." Chen Lian picked it up and saw that it was the French newspaper Humanitarian. Several words appeared very frequently throughout the article: hypocrisy, emptiness, and lies. To sum up, it means that Director Cheng deliberately chose a tragic story to create an empty and hypocritical lie, thinking that excessive logic and storytelling are bad. This kind of evaluation is quite good. Another nice morning news wrote more directly. It directly named Director Cheng in order to deliberately cater to Western audiences, so he made many fundamental mistakes. It also contains the words of Venice Film Festival chairman Ponte Carlo. The little old man sadly said that China has no shortage of world-class directors, but these directors always like to show others some old, pedantic, and dark antiques. After reading these 2 newspapers, Chen Lian felt that he was going to be finished. If the Western media had this kind of argument, the domestic media would be even more unkind. The possibility of the movie being released in mainland China is almost zero. Gong Li is obviously aware of this and has no hope at all about whether she can win the Best Actress in Cannes. After a while, Zhang Guorong also knocked on the door and came in, also holding several newspapers in his hand. Chen Lian just glanced at it and found that it was similar to the 2 newspapers he just read. Zhang Guorong sat on the sofa and looked at them and said, "Director Cheng seems to be ready to leave." "Huh? Leave early?" "That's not true." Chen Lian looked at Zhang Guorong in surprise, wondering where he got the news. Zhang Guorong explained, "Mr. Su is ready to leave. She said she wants to go back to Xiangjiang to recuperate. Director Cheng seems to want to go back together." Chen Lian smacked his lips and looked at Gong Li and said, "If the director leaves, This will really become a joke. I'd better give him some advice. Maybe it was the first time in Cheng Dao's life that he suffered such a big setback, or maybe it was because Farewell My Concubine pushed him to the altar, and his halo was shattered so tragically that it is now difficult for him to accept such a result. When Chen Lian and Gong Li came to director Cheng's room together, the rest of the creative team also came over. However, the director is now answering the phone on the balcony. It seems that the call is from his girlfriend. Chen Lian looked through the balcony glass sliding door and saw director Cheng's expression was very disgusting, but he didn't know what was said on the phone, and he relaxed a lot after a while. After waiting for about 10 minutes, director Cheng hung up the phone and returned to the room to look at everyone with a smile. Duke Fan looked at director Cheng and said, "Director Cheng, don't pay attention to those comments." Others also opened their mouths to comfort. Director Cheng raised his hand and pressed it lightly and said, "Don't worry about me." Although this time it has not been recognized by the Western media, it does not mean that Fenjiao is not good. This is a very exciting film. Awards and reviews do not determine whether a movie is good or bad. Everyone in the room looked at the smile on director Cheng's face and wondered whether he really thought so or was trying to force it on. But since it seems that everything is fine, everyone no longer comforts me. They are all adults and should learn to accept and relieve themselves. After Chen Lian saw that director Cheng did not mention the idea of ending the trip to Cannes early, he said goodbye to them directly, but promised that he would come on time before the closing ceremony. No matter whether the movie is good or bad, as a member of the creative team, Chen Lian must bear the final result together. You can't just go if it's good for you, and run away if it's bad for you. That's not very particular. On the way back to Paris, Chen Lian sat in the car and told Li Dabai to book a flight for tomorrow as soon as he arrived in Paris. After the explanation, Chen Lian was just about to close his eyes and rest his mind when the phone rang. This was his phone number in France, and the number he dialed was also a French number. After picking up the phone, Chen Lian asked in English, "Hello, who are you?" "It's me, Lu Xiaoli." Chen Lian was a little surprised that it was Lu Xiaoli's call. Before he could ask her if she was in any trouble, he heard Lu Xiaoli say, "I heard about the movie, so I called to ask, are you okay?" Chen Lian didn't expect the news to spread quickly. The Chinese community in France was probably paying attention to the film festival, hoping that director Cheng could win the Palme d'Or again. It was normal for the news to spread quickly. "Are you still in Cannes now?" Lu Xiaoli on the other end of the phone asked again. Chen Lian came to his senses and said, "We have left Cannes and are heading to Paris." Lu Xiaoli on the other end of the phone hesitated and said, "When will you arrive in Paris?" "I would like to treat you to dinner." Chen Lian smiled and said, "Is this considered comfort from a friend?" "That's right, but I feel like you don't need it," Lu Xiaoli said with a chuckle on the other end of the phone. "Of course," Chen Lian said with a smile, then paused and said, "But I have to attend a cocktail party tonight." After hearing this, Lu Xiaoli was slightly disappointed, but she still smiled and said, "It seems you really don't need it." Chen Lian said softly with a smile on his lips, "I need a female companion. I wonder if I can ask you to be my female companion." Lu Xiaoli was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile, "As a friend, I can't bear to see you attending the cocktail party alone. Come pick me up tonight." After hanging up the phone, Li Dabai, who was sitting next to him, looked at Chen Lian unhappily, and the resentment in his eyes turned into water. I knew it was abnormal for teacher Chen to be so proactive that day. As expected, he was interesting to her, so Li Dabai was wondering whether he should tip off the queen. Chen Lian felt Li Dabai's resentment, turned to look at her and asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Li Dabai puffed out his mouth and said resentfully, "I can also be your female companion and accompany you to the cocktail party." Chen Lian put away the phone, raised his eyebrows and said, "Oh, practice your English first, and I'll take care of you next time." Li Dabai, you look down on people, Don't you? I will learn it later. Not only learn English, but also learn French. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 211. Chapter 206-204. Everyone has their own agenda. The black car was driving on the streets of Paris. Even though he had seen these scenes, Li Dabai still lay on the car window and looked out. This time I visited 2 places in Paris for 3 days, but Li Dabai never fully appreciated the scenery here. After watching for a while, Li Dabai turned to look at Chen Lian and asked, "Teacher Chen, can I go shopping by myself?" Okay. Chen Lian opened his eyes, and then said to the driver in front of him, "Leon, can you help me find a Chinese student in Paris to be a guide?" Leon is Jifa's exclusive driver, and he has been delivering Chen Lian directly for the past 2 days. After hearing Chen Lian's words, he immediately said, "No problem, when will you need it?" "Just today." "Okay." After Chen Lian communicated with Leon, he said to Li Dabai, "I asked Leon to help find a Chinese student to be your guide. You can go and play by yourself in the afternoon. Don't forget to book a flight." "Really? There is also a guide," Li Dabai immediately said happily to Chen Lian, "Thank you, Teacher Chen, you are so considerate." After the driver sent Chen Lian and Li Dabai to the villa, they immediately went to find the international students. Li Dabai was calculating his savings and planning how to spend them later. He would definitely bring some gifts to his family when he went abroad. It was already past 1 in the afternoon. Chen Lian took a rest, made a pot of tea and sat in the living room waiting for Ji Feiyu's reporter to come over. There was an exclusive interview in the afternoon. Li Dabai, who had packed up and was about to go out, looked at Chen Lian hypocritically and asked, "Teacher Chen, you have to be interviewed in the afternoon, wouldn't it be bad if I went out to play?" "Okay, then don't go out." Chen Lian raised his eyelids and looked at Li Dabai and said. Li Dabai's face suddenly fell. He took Chen Lian's arm and blinked at him, looking pitiful. "Okay, go quickly. Pack your wallet and don't lose it. If you need anything, call me." Chen Lian waved his hand angrily. "Thank you, Teacher Chen." After Li Dabai finished speaking, he ran out quickly. Seeing her excited look, Chen Lian couldn't help but laugh. She was just a child. Not long after Li Dabai went out, reporters arrived. The interview ended more than 2 hours later. Chen Lian sent the reporter out and breathed a sigh of relief. After drinking a cup of tea, he went to change clothes. The cocktail party is a more formal social occasion. Dressing too casually will be considered disrespectful. After changing into formal clothes again, Chen Lian adjusted the scarf on his chest and looked at himself in the mirror. He felt that he might be suitable for playing a nobleman. However, there are too many aristocrats in China. They are all over the streets. Whose ancestors are not aristocrats several generations ago? The most important thing is that Chinese nobles do not wear suits. These days, those who wear suits in China are either bosses or business people. After Chen Lian tidied up his image, he went out to pick up Lu Xiaoli. It was still early, so Chen Lian set out so early because he was worried that Lu Xiaoli didn't bring a suitable dress, so he could buy one while it was still early. If Li Dabai knew about it, he would definitely secretly say that Teacher Chen was too proactive. "There is something wrong with you, I want to report it to the Queen." Chen Lian's feelings towards Lu Xiaoli are a little complicated. He is a little proactive, not entirely because he wants to raise a good-looking person, but mainly because he wants to experience the joy of being a godfather. Anyway, they both have the surname Chen, so there's no difference. Of course, this is just a joke. Godfather and other things are not important. It is just to make people look good and dance. Just making friends, keep it simple. Don't have so many purposes. The car quickly arrived at the place where Lu Xiaoli was dropped off last time. At this time, Chen Lian took a closer look at the apartment. It seemed to be an apartment affiliated with the university. Chen Lian rolled down the window and took a closer look before taking out his cell phone and dialing Lu Xiaoli. After a while, Lu Xiaoli came out of the building next to the apartment. When Chen Lian saw it, he asked the driver to drive forward. After the car stopped in front of Lu Xiaoli took the initiative to open the door and get in, without giving Chen Lian a chance to show his gentlemanly demeanor. After Lu Xiaoli sat down and closed the car door, Chen Lian looked at her still gentle and charming appearance without makeup, and said with a smile, "You are very beautiful today. You must have encountered something happy, right?" Lu Xiaoli smiled, pulled her hair, looked at Chen Lian and said, "Guess." Well, Chen Lian touched his chin and pretended to think for a while and said, "Either you settled the divorce, or it was because you were dating me at night. Although the first one is more likely, I prefer to believe it is the second one. Reason, which one is it?" Lu Xiaoli looked at Chen Lian's slightly aggressive eyes and pursed her lips slightly. She felt that Chen Lian was very cunning and good at attacking, so she went around and asked the question to herself again. However, the eldest sister's experience is not something that can be overshadowed by just a few words. She chuckled and said, "Trust your intuition." Hearing Lu Xiaoli's words, Chen Lian smiled. "My sister is really good at pulling things off." But since she didn't object to Chen Lian's second guess, it was enough. The key information was already obtained. If you don't object, you are acquiescing to Chen Lian's temptation. If you have a good impression, you can go further even if it is not natural. Soon the car arrived at a luxury dress shop on the Champs-Élysées. Chen Lian's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw Lu Xiaoli, who had just changed into a dress. She is dignified and elegant with the style of a mature woman, and her slim-fitting dress sets off her graceful figure very well. "It's so beautiful," Chen Lian admired sincerely. Lu Xiaoli stood in front of the mirror and turned around, looking at Chen Lian with a bright smile and said, "Really? Of course, I never lie about beauty." Chen Lian walked up to Lu Xiaoli, looked into her eyes and said, "This is the ethics of an artist." Lu Xiaoli covered her mouth and chuckled, her beautiful eyes flashing. She turned her head slightly and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Are you artists so good at talking? I don't know if others are like this, but I always speak out and heartily when faced with good things." Lu Xiaoli's smiling eyes were curved, and the corners of her mouth were obviously curved. Her praise for Chen Lian was very useful. After coming out of the dress shop, Chen Lian put Lu Xiaoli in the car and suddenly said, "Wait for me here, I forgot something." After saying that, Chen Lian gently closed the car door and disappeared into the crowd. Lu Xiaoli watched the passers-by through the car window and guessed that Chen Lian had forgotten something. More than 10 minutes later, Chen Lian came back empty-handed. After sitting back in the car, Lu Xiaoli asked curiously, "What did you forget?" Chen Lian looked at Lu Xiaoli and smiled, raised his hand and opened it gently in front of her, and a sparkling diamond necklace hung down. Looking at the necklace in front of her, Lu Xiaoli's eyes lit up and she looked at Chen Lian in surprise. "I think you are missing a necklace. Do you want to try it?" Chen Lian gently shook his palm, and the diamond necklace also swayed, and the crystal diamonds exuded dazzling light. Lu Xiaoli looked at Chen Lian's serious look, pursed her lips and hesitated for a moment before nodding lightly. Chen Lian raised his eyebrows slightly, then approached Lu Xiaoli with the necklace and said, "I'll put it on for you." Yes. Lu Xiaoli leaned forward slightly and cooperated with Chen Lian. Chen Lian looked at Lu Xiaoli's slender swan neck, reached out to brush the hair from her neck, and wrapped his hands behind her to put on the necklace for Lu Xiaoli. The two of them were so close that they could smell each other's scent. The distance between their cheeks was less than 10 centimeters, and they seemed to feel the warmth of each other's bodies when they breathed. Chen Lian put it on very slowly, seemingly clumsily. He couldn't get the buckle of the necklace to close with his fingers, and his fingertips inadvertently touched Lu Xiaoli's fair skin several times. But even so, Lu Xiaoli didn't urge or evade. She seemed to acquiesce in Chen Lian's clumsiness and waited patiently for him to put on the necklace. After feeling that Lu Xiaoli was not repelled, Chen Lian smiled slightly, quickly put on the necklace, then sat back, looked at the necklace hanging on her collarbone and said, "It's perfect, it suits you very well." Lu Xiaoli raised her hand and lightly touched the diamond on her collarbone. She felt a little strange and contradictory in her heart. She came here for a divorce, and it was not officially divorced yet. She always felt an inexplicable sense of betrayal. It's quite exciting. At the cocktail party in the evening, when Chen Lian and Lu Xiaoli arrived, they immediately attracted a lot of attention. Although there are differences in aesthetics between the East and the West, you can conquer both aesthetics after your appearance reaches a certain level. Lu Xiaoli held Chen Lian's hand and looked at the appreciative glances at the reception. She seemed to be back on the stage again, and her hand holding Chen Lian's arm tightened slightly. Tonight's cocktail party was attended by famous artists or businessmen and politicians in Paris, and most of the topics discussed were related to art. Chen Lian and Lu Xiaoli chatted and laughed with everyone in the crowd, as if they were surrounded by the halo of the protagonist, who would always be the center. But the real center of the reception is tonight's host, Bernard Arnault, who invited Chen Lian to the reception. A super collector, he is also the owner of Phillips Auction House, the third largest auction house in the world, and the largest auction house in France. Many people may not know about collectors, but when it comes to LV, everyone should know that the real super rich control almost half of the world's luxury brands. However, this is a very low-key and calm person, but he is also an enigmatic businessman, but he also really loves art and has a collection of thousands of art pieces. He had accepted Chen Lian's previous works. He liked Chen Lian's works very much, but it was not just a collection. The nature of a businessman could not be erased. If the artwork is only kept at home, it will lose its meaning and will not fit his character. Chen Lian's works are still being exhibited and operated in Jifa's hands. All of this is Bernard Arnault's instruction. At the right opportunity, he will put Chen Lian's works up for auction again and raise the prices through his own auction house. Bernard Arnault admires Chen Lian very much and feels that he has the most potential among young artists and is the most worthy of investment. Last year, Chen Lian won the gold medal at the Venice Art Biennale, which proved his vision. This is also the reason why he invited Chen Lian to a cocktail party after he learned that he came to Paris. If you want an artistic work to be more famous and valuable, you need someone to support it. Bernard Arnault was happy to be that person because he now owns most of Chen Lian's artwork. Even the surreal sculptures created by Chen Lian this year have been booked by him. In addition to the oil paintings that Chen Lian gave away and the installation art that cannot be removed from the capital, all other artworks are in his hands. At the cocktail party, Bernard Arnault expressed his admiration for Chen Lian to many people. He also revealed that he intends to collect Chen Lian's latest works, but unfortunately they are currently on display in the United States and Chen Lian has no intention of selling them. Normally, a young artist would be ecstatic when faced with the recognition of a super-rich super collector like Bernard Arnault. But Chen Lian does not. Bernard Arnault is very rich. His wealth is now thousands of times that of Chen Lian, but it does not mean that it will always be like this. Chen Lian's head was filled with too much knowledge that did not belong to his current situation, and he did not have any awe for the so-called rich people, so he acted very calmly when facing a room full of rich people. Perhaps it is precisely because of this calmness that these rich people look at him differently. Although artists are inseparable from the pursuit of capital, who would like an artist who is in awe because of wealth? The more artists reject capital, the more they will be sought after by capital. Otherwise, how can we express the word art? But Chen Lian's calmness made Lu Xiaoli very uneasy, especially after she knew the identities of these people at the reception. That's the boss of LV Group, the boss of Dior, Givenchy, and other luxury goods, a super rich man with a fortune of tens of billions of dollars. Lu Xiaoli thought of the bags that cost thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars on the Champs-Élysées yesterday, and felt that everything that happened tonight was too dreamy. After the reception, Lu Xiaoli looked at Chen Lian with a different expression. It was like a Cinderella who suddenly broke into a noble reception and found out that the person dancing with her was a prince. "What's wrong with you? I feel like you're a little absent-minded. Don't you like this kind of occasion?" Chen Lian looked at Lu Xiaoli, who was in a daze, and said with a smile, "You are the same as my partner. She also doesn't like this kind of occasion. She thinks they are too tacky." Lu Xiaoli turned her head and looked at Chen Lian for a while before saying, "What about you, do you like this kind of occasion?" "It's okay, but if you participate too much, it will become boring." Chen Lian pulled off his tie and said, "It's like wearing a tie for a long time and it will feel boring." Lu Xiaoli. Not knowing what was going on, Lu Xiaoli looked at Chen Lian's indifferent expression and didn't know what to say. After a while, she asked, "Are your works valuable now?" Chen Lian touched his chin and said, "Probably. It depends on how much the next auction will bring. Last year's auction only fetched about $2 million US." In the quiet car, Lu Xiaoli no longer knew what to say. "You know that a rich man is worth tens of billions of dollars. You may think it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with you anyway. But you know your friend, when a piece of work can sell for millions of dollars, you can't calm down. Because this is the person around you, the person you know, or the man who may be interested in you." Regardless of whether she was envious or shocked, it was difficult for Lu Xiaoli to calm down now. The car fell into silence. Chen Lian was a little tipsy and did not speak with his eyes closed. He just put his palm on the seat and unconsciously touched Lu Xiaoli's little hand. Lu Xiaoli glanced down, then turned to look at Chen Lian, who was resting with his eyes closed, and touched Chen Lian's fingers slightly with her little hand. Chen Lian subconsciously hooked his fingers and slid them in Lu Xiaoli's palm. A numb feeling made Lu Xiaoli's palms curl up just enough to hold Chen Lian's fingers. Chen Lian, who had his eyes closed, had a faint smile on his lips. Lu Xiaoli, who pretended that nothing happened, turned her head and looked at the scenery outside the car window, with a glimmer of light in her eyes. The two people, who had different thoughts, had a tacit understanding and never separated their hands, and a faint charm came quietly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 212. Chapter 207-205. Don't believe in love. The moonlight is beautiful tonight. The full moon hangs high in the sky, dotted with stars. On the quiet street, the tall French paulownia trees were flourishing. Chen Lian sent Lu Xiaoli downstairs to the apartment. The two of them stood under the eaves of the apartment door, with warm yellow light shining softly on them. Chen Lian took Lu Xiaoli's hand and squeezed it gently, then let go and handed the bag in her hand to her and said, "Thank you for being my female companion tonight. I wish you a good dream." The hand that had been being held suddenly let go. Lu Xiaoli still missed the feeling just now. She took the paper bag handed over by Chen Lian and hesitated for a while before saying, "Would you like to go up and have a cup of tea? You drank a lot tonight." "Convenient." Lu Xiaoli understood what Chen Lian meant and said with a smile, "I live in a hotel apartment by myself, so there is no inconvenience." Then Chen Lian was about to agree when the phone rang suddenly, so he looked at Lu Xiaoli apologetically and took out the phone to answer the call. As soon as the call was connected, Li Dabai's voice came. "Mr. Chen, why haven't you come back yet? Did you drink too much? I just had a phone call with Sister Huang Gongli. She asked me to tell you not to drink too much. When will you come back? I'll prepare sobering tea for you." After Li Dabai finished speaking quickly, he added uneasily, Sister Gong Li said that you should go home and call her back. Chen Lian, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have answered. When did Li Dabai rebel? Damn it! Turning his head and glancing at Lu Xiaoli who was looking at him, Chen Lian's expression became slightly serious and he said to Li Dabai on the other end of the phone, I know. Just wait until I go back to deal with it, I'm already on the way. After saying that, Chen Lian hung up the phone, walked up to Lu Xiaoli and said very apologetically, sorry, something happened temporarily, I need to go back and deal with it quickly. It's okay, you can go back and get down to business. Lu Xiaoli had already guessed what Chen Lian had just said, and felt a little disappointed but also relieved. After all, she hadn't gotten the divorce certificate yet. Chen Lian hummed, looked at Lu Xiaoli's scattered hair on her forehead, reached out and gently brushed it and said, I will return to China tomorrow, when will you go back? Chen Lian's sudden tenderness and initiative made Lu Xiaoli's eyes flash with panic, and she felt like she was back to the time when she was in love as a teenager. After such a long period of ordinary days, in this romantic city, on this romantic night, it seems that the girl's heart that has been silent for a long time has been rediscovered. Lu Xiaoli bit her lip and said softly, I booked a flight for the day after tomorrow, and I still have some things to deal with tomorrow. The amorous feelings of a mature woman coupled with the slightly girlish lip-biting movements made Chen Lian want to throw away the phone and follow Lu Xiaoli upstairs. But now there is no chance. Chen Lian put down his hand and looked at Lu Xiaoli and said, then we will meet in the capital. I will pick you up the day after tomorrow. No need, he will be the day after tomorrow. Lu Xiaoli paused mid-sentence, but Chen Lian understood what she meant and nodded, okay, you deal with your own affairs first. If you need anything, call me. Facing Chen Lian's good sense of proportion, Lu Xiaoli always felt strange, as if she were facing a man older than herself, who was obviously several years younger than herself. Aren't men of this age supposed to be impulsive and domineering? Like a puppy guarding its food? Perhaps it was because she and he hadn't developed to that stage yet. Lu Xiaoli looked at Chen Lian and thought about whether to give him a reward, what if he ran away and became decoupled? But Chen Lian didn't give her that much chance to think, I'm going back first, good night and sweet dreams. Lu Xiaoli looked at Chen Lian's back as he turned and left, showing no signs of nostalgia at all, which was completely opposite to the tenderness he had shown just now. Good night. Lu Xiaoli shouted at Chen Lian's back, and couldn't help but mutter in her heart that she seemed to have been caught. Little puppy. He's quite capable of indulging in lust. But this is not the time when teenagers fall in love. There is no ignorant love, only two people testing each other. More than 20 minutes later, Chen Lian returned to the villa. He looked at Li Dabai, who was sitting cross-legged on the sofa and playing with the trophies. He sat opposite her and said, tell me, when did you rebel? Li Dabai was startled by Chen Lian, and then he reacted and asked pretending to be stupid, Mr. Chen, what's the rebellion? Don't act stupid, did you report my whereabouts to Gong Li? No. Sister Gong Li and I just hit it off. I just talked about you when I called you at night. Humph, you don't admit it, do you? You have the ability to ask Gong Li to pay you a salary, and your salary will be halved starting tomorrow. After Chen Lian finished speaking, he went upstairs. If you don't trust your salary, you, a little money-crazed guy like you, can't handle it. I guess I'll come clean later. Li Dabai scratched his head. You didn't pay me the salary. The beautiful girl Jifa paid me the salary. Looking at Chen Lian's back going up the stairs, Li Dabai murmured in a low voice, am I going to tell you that the queen has also paid me a salary? Huh. The queen has already paid me, can other concubines also be able to defraud me of their wages? No, no, I'm so sorry for teacher Chen. Li Dabai sighed melancholy, what a good way to make money, after all, he is too conscientious, otherwise he would even sell teacher Chen's underwear for money. After going upstairs to take a shower, Chen Lian was a little surprised that Li Dabai was not frightened, so he went downstairs with a straight face and watched Li Dabai packing the things he bought. Chen Lian sat next to him and picked up a bag and looked at it for a few times. Li Dabai raised his head and glanced at him and said, "Teacher Chen, the flight ticket has been booked. It will be at 9:15 tomorrow morning. Go to bed early and I will pack it myself, that's it?" Chen Lian, This girl is hopeless. She doesn't think that she is here to help her pack her things. Chen Lian threw the things in his hands on the table, looked at Li Dabai and said, "Forget what happened today, there won't be another time. Remember that you are my assistant, do you understand?" "Understood." Li Dabai raised his head and looked at Chen Lian with a smile, then pulled out a small box from the bag on the table and pushed it in front of him and said, "This is the gift I bought for you. This bottle of perfume is so expensive." Looking at the perfume box in front of him, Chen Lian coughed unnaturally. Is this considered a female subordinate bribing a male boss? After Chen Lian went upstairs with the perfume, Li Dabai smiled proudly, the crisis was over. But you really have to pay attention in the future. No matter how powerful the queen is, she still has to listen to the emperor. The next morning, Chen Lian and Li Dabai boarded a plane back to China. On the balcony of an apartment in Paris, Lu Xiaoli held coffee in her hand and looked up at the planes flying in the sky. Then she turned around and took her bag and went out. The dress from yesterday was hanging on the hanger in the room. It is particularly dazzling in the early morning sun. On the plane flying at high speed, Li Dabai looked at Chen Lian as if he was taking credit for it and said, "Teacher Chen, this is first class, are you satisfied?" "Yes, not bad." Chen Lian put on his eye mask and prepared to take a nap. Li Dabai continued, "First class is so expensive. All the foreign exchange I brought this time has been spent. You can change some more when you return to the capital." "You'll have to come back in a few days," Chen Lian replied and turned over to sleep. Li Dabai curled his lips when he saw Chen Lian like this. He felt that he was too luxurious, and the economy class was not bad either. However, when Li Dabai leaned back comfortably on the seat, he still showed an expression of enjoyment. The money was indeed worth it. More than 10 hours later, the plane landed in Beijing. However, it was past 3 o'clock in the morning at Beijing Airport, and there was still a hint of air conditioning in the air. Chen Lian and Li Dabai did not stay in the capital for too long. After waiting at the airport for a few hours, they transferred to Nanjing. The Christian crew in Nanjing have already arrived, and the plan is to officially start filming in 5 days. However, before starting, a lot of work needs to be prepared in advance. Chen Lian also had to meet with the director and creative team first. Whether it was script reading or communication about specific shooting plans, they had to be decided in advance. Time is tight and tasks are heavy. Chen Lian has to return to Cannes in a few days to attend the closing ceremony, and there is no time to stay in the capital. At a roadside stall in Nanjing, Chen Lian and Li Dabai were sitting at a small table, eating pot stickers, dumplings and duck blood vermicelli soup. At this time, Nanjing had just started a new day. Many office workers have breakfast here, and many people bring thermos buckets to pack for home. Li Dabai took a bite of the pot sticker dumplings, but his eyes stayed on the belly noodle stall next door. People in the capital have a special liking for tripe. But the duck blood vermicelli soup was also delicious. Li Dabai touched his belly and gave up the plan of eating another bowl of belly noodles. Chen Lian grabbed some roll paper, wiped his mouth and said, "Eat quickly, the crew is still waiting." Li Dabai looked away from the child's bowl next door. In a mid-range hotel by the Qinhua River, Chen Lian successfully met the crew. What he didn't expect was that Cheng Shifen also came over. "Sister Shifen, why are you here too?" Chen Lian looked at Cheng Shifen and asked. "My snow friend is holding a concert in Yangcheng. I'm not far away and I'm here to see you," Cheng Shifen said with a smile. In fact, She was a little worried that the crew would look down on Chen Lian. The entertainment industry in Xiangjiang has always been looked down upon by no one in the mainland. The previous Midnight Singing had Zhang Guorong in it, and it was filmed at the Beijing Film Studio, which would give Chen Lian face. But this time we are not cooperating with a mainland production company, and there are no acquaintances of Chen Lian on the crew. It would be bad if Chen Lian is offended. Cheng Shifen came here specifically to support Chen Lian, so as to prevent those who didn't know what they were thinking from showing a superior attitude. Cheng Shifen took Chen Lian to the conference room provided by the hotel and introduced Chen Lian's identity to the crew. Directors Ou Dingping and Chen Lian had already met him and knew his identity. They stood up and shook hands with Chen Lian and said, "Master Chen, long time no see." This sentence makes it a bit embarrassing for the master to call Chen Lian, it is better to call him by his name. Everyone in the conference room saw that the investors and directors were very polite to Chen Lian, and they all knew it, and they all greeted Chen Lian politely. Several photography assistants sitting in the corner of the conference room whispered about Chen Lian. Isn't he just a young actor from the mainland? What is his background? There must be a background, otherwise why would I be performing a midnight song with my brother? Then why did the director call him master? I know this. The artist is here. What awards have he won before? I saw it in the newspaper. No one paid attention to the gossip here. Li Dabai, who was standing nearby, vaguely heard it, but he couldn't understand Cantonese and had no idea what they were talking about. At this time, Li Dabai's eyes were fixed on the heroine of the movie, the actress Yasuko Tomita from Japan. At this time, Tomita Yasuko bowed to Chen Lian very politely and said hello, but Chen Lian did not understand a word of the Japanese he spoke. The translator next to him immediately followed up and said, "Jingza said that he likes your works very much. He didn't expect to be able to cooperate with an artist like you. I am very flattered. I am very happy to be able to cooperate with you. I hope you can give me some advice." When he was a child, he liked to engage in such nonsense. Chen Lian bets that Tomita Yasuko has never seen his works. Jifa has never taken his works to Japan for exhibition, and has been wandering around Europe and the United States. Tomita Yasuko must have checked Chen Lian's information and knew that he was an artist, so he was so polite. After all, in a social environment like Japan, writers and artists have a much higher status than actors and singers. Faced with Yasuko Tomita's politeness, it is still very useful. Chen Lian also politely replied, "That's so polite. I also look forward to future cooperation." At this time, Yasuko Tomita was already 26 years old. She was not considered popular in Japan 10 years after her debut. After all, when she debuted, there were the most beautiful women in the Showa era. Even though the Showa era has passed, it still hasn't been her turn to come forward, otherwise she wouldn't have starred in this large-scale movie. But after this movie, Tomita Yasuko became popular in Japan. There was no way, there were too many perverts in Japan, and they just liked this tune. Yasuko Tomita looks very innocent, with a delicate and pitiful flavor. Later, she was hailed as the last representative of pure desire in the Showa era. I don't know who made the comment, but Yasuko Tomita does seem to be the pure desire type. Tomita Yasuko fits the innocent Jinhua in the script very well, and director Ou Dingping will still choose the person. After a brief exchange of greetings, everyone sat down and began to read the script. Hong Kong films normally do not conduct such readings, but the directors of literary films are different, and Ou Dingping has devoted a lot of effort to this film, and he attaches great importance to it. Also different. Script reading is actually very simple, that is, the creative team sits together and goes through the script from beginning to end. There is no need to perform, but the actors have to read the lines with the emotions of the characters. If you find something inappropriate, bring it up, and then everyone will discuss how to modify it. This method is very beneficial to creation. It allows the actors to familiarize themselves with the script as soon as possible, and also allows them to become more familiar with each other. After the official filming, they will have a lot of tacit understanding. Christ in Nanjing is a tragic story, and the atmosphere in the conference room was difficult to warm up and always had a depressing feeling. Chen Lian and Tomita Yasuko sit together, and when they read the scenes of their rivals, they watch each other empathize with each other's emotions more. However, the communication between the two can only rely on their eyes and expressions. One speaks Chinese and the other speaks Japanese. Language communication became an obstacle. But fortunately, it was just a matter of reciting the lines, and each other knew what lines the other was saying, so the reading went smoothly. The whole morning passed quietly, and the conference room was filled with mist. Most people smoked. Chen Lian also lit a cigarette and clamped it on his finger. Although he had quit, the character in the script smoked, and now he has recovered. The feeling of smoking. After a morning of reading, I only got through half of the script. During the lunch break, Yasuko Tomita took the initiative to sit next to Chen Lian in the hotel restaurant and said hello to Chen Lian in Chinese with a somewhat imperfect pronunciation. Li Dabai wanted to laugh while listening, and quickly stuffed a piece of beef into his mouth, thinking that Chen Lian would not be able to make a good friend this time. How can we hook up if we don't understand each other? Should we rely on sign language? Chen Lian listened to Tomita Yasuko's greetings, smiled and replied in Chinese, and then said in English, "We can also communicate in English." Yeah, Yasuko Tomita hummed for a while before saying in English, "My English is not very good either, please forgive me." Li Dabai really couldn't help but want to laugh. He even had difficulty communicating in English. Now he could safely report to the Queen. Chen Lian turned to look at Li Dabai, who was suppressing a smile, and said, "Why are you laughing? Are you good at English?" Li Dabai, go and learn now. So angry. Tomita Yasuko couldn't understand the conversation between Chen Lian and Li Dabai, but he could guess that Chen Lian seemed to be speaking for himself, so he said in less fluent English, "Is my pronunciation too substandard? I'm sorry, I will practice more." Chen Lian turned around and said, "No, you are the Japanese with the most standard pronunciation I have ever seen." This is not a lie. Chen Lian has never met many Japanese in his life. Tomita Yasuko is indeed the best in pronunciation. Hearing Chen Lian's words, Tomita Yasuko felt a little dumbfounded. It sounded like a compliment, but in fact it was a complaint about the Japanese pronunciation of English. But this is also true. There is indeed an accent problem in Japanese English. Tomita Yasuko did not struggle with this problem and still tried hard to communicate with Chen Lian in English. Chen Lian also chatted with Tomita Yasuko very patiently. Li Dabai, who was sitting next to him, was angrily fighting with the ribs on the plate. He couldn't understand it at all, and he couldn't even make a small report. Lunchtime passed quickly, and the group returned to the conference room to continue reading the script. As each person spoke one line, the sky outside gradually became darker. When the crowd read the end of the script, when the male protagonist burst into tears while holding the heroine who died on the railway, Chen Lian's choked and sad voice made people laugh. The entire conference room fell silent. Yasuko Tomita listened to Chen Lian's lines and looked at his affectionate and sad eyes, and the emotions in her heart were aroused. Thinking of Jinhua's tragic life, tears fell from the corners of her eyes unknowingly. Perhaps because Chen Lian was a little invested, he unconsciously reached out his hand and gently wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes. Oyu Dingping looked at this scene, and his heart was filled with emotion. Although it was not a real shooting, the time, location, and costumes were wrong, the feelings of Chen Lian and Tomita Yasuko at this time were moving. After Chen Lian finished speaking all his lines and broke away from his emotions, applause suddenly broke out in the conference room. Oyu Dingping pressed the cigarette butt in his hand into the ashtray and couldn't help but said excitedly, "What you feel now is so right." The translator explained next to Yasuko Tomita. She turned her head and looked into Chen Lian's eyes, showing an extremely innocent smile. Chen Lian looked at Tomita Yasuko's smile and suddenly had some thoughts in his heart. If he fell in love with someone like the male protagonist in the movie, would he also fall into pain and entanglement? After all, it's not easy to be a scumbag. Chen Lian can understand how painful Okazawa in the movie was at the end. A good scumbag suddenly becomes deeply in love with a woman he shouldn't love. This is not a touching love, it will only lead to entanglement and pain. Because a scumbag never loves just one person. After the reading, Chen Lian was not in a very good mood. Li Dabai followed him and asked softly, "Teacher Chen, haven't you acted yet?" Chen Lian hummed, then reacted, and said, "No, I just thought of some questions." Li Dabai snorted and said, "The script is very exaggerated. There are no people like Jinhua anymore, and there is no such love anymore." Chen Lian paused for a moment, turned to look at Li Dabai, and suddenly said with a smile, "Yes, Dabai still understands love very well." "I don't understand." Li Dabai immediately shook his head like a rattle, then let out a long sigh and looked at Chen Lian and said, "I have been with teacher Chen for a long time, and I no longer believe in love." Chen Lian, are you conceiving me? Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu Xiaomao. Chapter 213. Chapter 208-206. Come on. Artist. The scenery of the Qinhua River is very beautiful, but there are no flower boats on the river. The lights on the shore are imprinted on the water, turning into ripples under the waves, which seem to tell the story of the past here. Chen Lian walked along the Qinhua River and thought of the news he had seen. During the anti-Japanese war, the women of the flower houses in the Qinhua River also contributed money and effort, but few people mentioned them. The evening breeze gently blew through the drooping willow branches on the shore and swayed gently, seeming to be waving to pedestrians on the shore. Maybe there are many poor souls buried here. Yasuko Tomita stretched out her hand and broke off a willow branch that had just sprouted new buds. She held it in her hand. The delicate willow branches resembled her soft figure. "Will coming here give you a sense of belonging?" Chen Lian asked, looking at Tomita Yasuko. Yasuko Tomita turned the willow branch in her hand, looked at the ripples on the river, and said softly, "I can feel the rich history here, but I can't find that feeling." If Yasuko Tomita was not a girl, Chen Lian would like to say that the most important things here are the innocent souls, but this is not appropriate. You can't just force a Japanese to apologize when you see him. It was not Chen Lian's original intention to come to Qinhua River for a stroll at night, but it was specially arranged by Oyu Dingping so that he and Tomita Yasuko could find a feeling and develop a tacit understanding. After all, we have to film so many large-scale passionate scenes together in the future, as well as take a bath and scratch the soles of our feet together. The two walked by the river for a while, and Chen Lian suddenly asked, "Why did you take this movie? There are a lot of passionate scenes in it, which is very different from your previous route." Yasuko Tomita turned her head and looked at Chen Lian and asked happily, "Has Mr. Lian seen my movie?" Chen Lian felt a little strange being called sir, but in Japanese address etiquette, writers and artists are all called this way. Chen Lian looked at Tomita Yasuko and nodded, "I have read most of your works." After Chen Lian found out that the heroine was Tomita Yasuko, he went to check it out. After all, if we wanted to film together, we had to understand each other's level. After Yasuko Tomita smiled, she said with some melancholy, "I debuted at the age of 16 and became famous for a while, but becoming famous too early means that everything will go downhill from now on. Many newcomers in the firm have surpassed me now, too. It's time to make a change. This may be the tragedy of celebrities. It is not difficult to become popular, but it is difficult to remain popular. it is difficult to maintain popularity. This is also the reason why later traffic stars publish press releases every day. Even if I don't have any works, I can't let everyone forget me, otherwise there will really be no more works. Fortunately, Chen Lian doesn't have this problem. He doesn't want to be the king of heaven, so whether he is hot or not will not have a big impact. I hope this movie can make you famous again. Chen Lian looked at Tomita Yasuko and gave him a blessing, and then considered, there will be many intimate scenes later. If you have any concerns, you can tell me now. Yasuko Tomita looked at Chen Lian with a cheerful smile and said, why do you have any scruples? Since I decided to take on this drama, I was well prepared, and I am honored to be filming with an artist like Mr. Lian. Typical of small life thinking and a willingness to be generous, Chen Lian couldn't help but praise Yasuko Tomita, and by the way wanted to ask if her colleagues in Japan also had this kind of consciousness. Does Mr. Lian have any scruples? Do you have a girlfriend? Yasuko Tomita looked at Chen Lian's handsome face and thought that many people would pursue such a person. Chen Lian lightly shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't have a girlfriend, so I don't have any scruples. That's great. Then I won't have any scruples. Yasuko Tomita's eyes lit up, and she felt a little excited. She looked very cute. But don't get too involved, Chen Lian said jokingly. Yasuko Tomita tilted her head and looked at Chen Lian and said, it's hard not to be devoted when facing Mr. Lian. Chen Lian was amused by Yasuko Tomita's words and said with a smile, in that case, I will devote myself 100%. Yasuko Tomita stretched out her hand and said with a bright smile, then let's work hard together. Come on together, Chen Lian said, holding Yasuko Tomita's hand. Many Japanese people have extremely extreme attitudes, either decadent to death or positive and optimistic, but Yasuko Tomita's cheerful optimism is really contagious. After walking around the Kinhua River, Chen Lian and Tomita Yasuko got to know each other a lot. At least Tomita Yasuko would no longer call Chen Lian sir. After returning to the hotel, the two said good night to each other in the corridor and went back to their rooms. When Yasuko Tomita returned to the room, she was in a very happy mood. It was natural that she wasn't nervous when filming a large-scale scene for the first time. But if she was filming with a person with a good personality and good looks, then why would she be nervous? She was even looking forward to it. Woolen cloth. Chen Lian took a quick shower in the bathroom and went to bed. He would continue the discussion meeting tomorrow. In the following days, the creative team discussed various opinions together every day, and wandered around the city of Nanjing in their spare time. None of the main crew members were locals, and they did not understand the Huala culture of Nanjing and the Kinhua River. If you want to make a good movie, you have to understand it on the spot. In fact, the filming of the movie will not be in Nanjing, the filming location has been set in Huangshan. During the past few days in Nanjing, Chen Lian and Yasuko Tomita would go out every night to cultivate their relationship. Otherwise, it would be difficult to express the feeling of two people being together. At night, after Chen Lian and Tomita Yasuko came back from outside talking and laughing, they met Cheng Shifen in the corridor of the room. Sister Shifen, are you still up so late? Cheng Shifen said with a smile, I'm waiting for you to come back. I'm leaving early tomorrow morning and want to chat with you. Then let's go in and talk. Chen Lian opened the door and invited Cheng Shifen in. After pouring her a glass of water, he asked, what does Sister Shifen want to talk to me about? Cheng Shifen took a sip of water and said, there are new changes in the company recently, which may affect subsequent plans. Let me tell you in advance. Chen Lian raised his eyebrows slightly and asked, can you tell me in detail? The company intends to create a musical for snow lovers, and the planned investment is likely to exceed HK$ 50 million. If such a large investment is used, the company's capital chain will also be tight. After Cheng Shifen explained in detail, she looked at Chen Lian's frown and added, but I promise that we will not stop the project we agreed on, but the initial investment may have to wait for a while. According to the plan, after the filming of this movie is completed, Chen Lian will go to Hong Kong to start the subsequent art space plan, turning art into a trend for civilians. Now that Cheng Shifen suddenly said this, it immediately killed the subsequent plan. Only then did Chen Lian understand why Cheng Shifen suddenly came over. She came to talk to him about this matter. Moreover, according to Chen Lian's understanding, Zhang Sui's musical has invested a total of hundreds of millions of Hong Kong dollars and will last for several years. Chen Lian cannot wait that long. Chen Lian's fingers unconsciously curled up the armrests of the chair, and he looked at Cheng Shifen and said, "Sister Shifen, when we signed the contract, it was clearly stipulated. Now the company has breached the contract." Cheng Shifen immediately comforted her, "Lian, don't get excited. This matter is still under discussion. We don't know what the specific outcome will be." Chen Lian shook his head slightly and said, "The company must have seen how successful Zhang Sui's global tour is, so it wants to replicate this miracle. There is a high probability that this plan will be approved, and my plan will probably be shelved." Cheng Shifen nodded and thought so, but she still said, "Lian, don't worry, I will definitely fight for you. My idea is to try a smaller one first, so that the company's capital chain can be improved. You won't be so nervous, the superiors will agree to continue. Sister Shifen, it's not a big or small problem. The main thing is, can you ensure that the company will not temporarily shelve my plan?" Chen Lian sat up slightly and said, "Maybe the company itself wants to wait for my plan. Be more fiery and more confident." Cheng Shifen was silent. The company did have ideas in this regard. If Zhang Sui's musical project didn't start so soon, the company wouldn't have so many worries, and it wouldn't be short of money. But now that we are short of money, we naturally need to consider it comprehensively. Chen Lian looked at Cheng Shifen, who was silent, and said, "Sister Shifen, let's do this. I'll wait for your news. Zhang Sui's tour will be over soon. The company should also make a decision in the near future. If it is really shelved by then, my plan, then I can only choose to terminate the contract." The room was very quiet. The dark clouds that had accumulated all night outside were also surging at this moment. Suddenly there was a thunder. Cheng Shifen raised her head and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Lian, I promise to fight for you. You can film with peace of mind. The rest leave it to me." "Okay," Chen Lian said with a smile. After sending Cheng Shifen away, Chen Lian closed the door and couldn't help but rub his temples. If he didn't have that much, he would have left them alone and done it himself. It doesn't cost much to build an art space by yourself, but Chen Lian can spend some money to do it. But if you want to commercialize and industrialize art, you need a lot of funds and professional people. If I had known, I would have deceived Bernard Arnault. Chen Lian sighed. In fact, Jifa is also a good choice. The little rich woman is still very rich. However, Chen Lian couldn't guarantee that he would succeed. Once he invested so much money and couldn't make it back, Jifa would probably cry to death, and then lock Chen Lian in a small dark room and paint hard. For such risky matters, it is better to find others and spend other people's money to do your own things. How can you spend your own money to realize your own dreams? Chen Lian took a shower irritably and stopped thinking about these things. It was useless to think about it. If it didn't work, he would just do it, or he would find someone rich to take advantage of. After another day of brainstorming the next day, Chen Lian was about to say goodbye to the crew temporarily and go to Cannes. The crew is also going to Huangshan to make preparations. When Chen Lian comes back from Cannes, they can start shooting immediately. At night, under the city wall of Nanjing, Yasuko Tomita touched the bluestone of the city wall with her fingers, followed behind Chen Lian, and stepped on his swaying shadow with light footsteps. In these few days of getting along, Tomita Yasuko found a feeling of love. She was not sure whether she was assuming the role of Jinhua or whether she really felt the sweetness of love in Chen Lian. This is a very attractive man that makes people want to get close to him. Yasuko Tomita thought that Chen Lian was leaving, and suddenly raised her head and patted his shoulder behind him. The moment Chen Lian turned around, Yasuko Tomita jumped out from behind, hugged his arm naturally and said, "I hope you win the grand prize in Cannes." Chen Lian wondered whether Tomita Yasuko was connoting herself. The reviews of the movie Feng Yu had already spread, and almost no one thought that this movie would win an award. That is to say, director Cheng's girlfriend on CCTV is relatively powerful, so the domestic media did not criticize her, but only discussed it on a small scale in the circle. The movie itself is not that bad, but the domestic media has always liked to follow the West's lead, and since director Cheng has been famous for several years, there will always be jealous people who want to take advantage of it. "Have you not paid attention to the news in Cannes recently?" Chen Lian asked, looking at Yasuko Tomita. Yasuko Tomita shook his head and asked, "Did something happen?" "No, it's just that the movie I participated in received mixed reviews, so I probably won't have a chance to win the award," Chen Lian explained casually. Tomita Yasuko said with some surprise, "If director Cheng is so good, will he be criticized?" In the eyes of the Japanese, director Cheng is a very powerful director, and not too many people admire him. This is why director Cheng was able to make so many movies later and still get Japanese investment. This is all the halo brought by Farewell My Concubine. Perhaps in Japan, the director is considered the god of movies. Aren't they just popular with all kinds of gods? Facing Yasuko Tomita's surprise, Chen Lian shook his head and said, "This is nothing strange. Gods will be blamed, let alone humans." Yasuko Tomita sighed and explained, "In the hearts of many Japanese filmmakers, director Cheng is a very powerful director. Maybe the movie Feng Yu will be popular in Japan. There are differences between Eastern and Western aesthetics," Chen Lian said simply, and then said to Yasuko Tomita, "It's getting late, go back and rest." "Okay, shall I see you off tomorrow? I want to experience Jinhua's feeling of saying goodbye to Okazawa." "Of course you can, but you have to get up earlier." "No problem. I'll be up on time." After returning to the hotel, Chen Lian was lying on the bed thinking about all kinds of messy questions, and more importantly, thinking about the meaning of the film festival. The Western Film Festival also started this year. I began to get tired of the works of the fifth generation of domestic directors, and then I fell in love with the works of the sixth generation of directors. I fell in love with those movies that told about the sufferings of modern domestic society, and became repelled by things related to feudal society. The root cause is simply the need for public opinion. When they discovered that China was rising rapidly, they began to use various means to influence China's international image. And movies are the best way. If you keep giving awards to those movies, more filmmakers will shoot such movies, and then people in Western society will see more problems in China and have a worse impression. Of course, this is not to disparage the works of the sixth generation directors. Their works are all very good and meaningful. Chen Lian also likes those movies. Suffering should be recorded and pointed out, but who you want to show it to is the most important. If you show China's suffering to foreigners, they will only laugh at it from a high place. So something very strange happened. People who should have seen it didn't see it, and people who shouldn't have seen it all saw it. Just like Hollywood movies, they have been taking advantage of their status as the world's film hegemon to constantly export their own cultural values and establish their free and beautiful image. Some people who are dark and critical of society and the government will not export them and watch them secretly at home. Even if it is exported, it will be overwhelmed by countless heroic movies, and people will not care about the criticism of one or two movies. But the situation in China is different. What you want to show people can't be released. For example, isn't the movie Sheng Kong Birth bad? Isn't it good to have a wreath at the foot of the mountain? But they don't want it? I don't want to show it to others. For example, some of the works of sixth-generation directors, films that profoundly depict people on the margins of society, people are rushing to get. Do we all like suffering and tragedy? Or do you simply like to watch other people's tragedies become your own comedy in the end? After Chen Lian thought about it for a long time, he suddenly felt that compared with movies, art is relatively pure and does not have so many restrictions. Looking at the dark ceiling, Chen Lian turned over and covered himself with a quilt and went to sleep. Why did he think so much? What should he do after he got some sleep? If you feel bad, go back and try your best. Start with your own art space. Come on. Artist. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 214. Chapter 209-207. Give director Cheng a hat. Chen Lian got up when the sky was dim in the morning. Today he had to rush to Paris and transfer to Shanghai, which was very troublesome. The international airport in Nanjing is still under construction, so now we can only transfer to Shanghai. However, the distance from Nanjing to Shanghai is not far, so it is not that troublesome. Chen Lian got up from the bed and was brushing his teeth in the bathroom when he heard someone knocking on the door. It was Li Dabai so early. Chen Lian was surprised that Li Dabai got up very early this time, but when he opened the door, he found Yasuko Tomita standing outside. Chen Lian looked at the energetic Tomita Yasuko, wiped the toothpaste foam from the corner of his mouth and asked, "Why are you here?" Tomita Yasuko exclaimed, tilted his head and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Did you forget? We made an appointment last night, and I'll see you off." Sorry, Chen Lian remembered what happened last night, and immediately gave up his seat and said, "I didn't sleep well last night, so I forgot about it." Yasuko Tomita smiled sweetly, then leaned forward and walked in. She was quite curious about Chen Lian's room. When she saw Chen Lian's clothes hanging in the closet, she took the initiative to walk over, turned to Chen Lian and said, "Let me help you pack your luggage, just like Jinhua folded Okazawa's clothes." "Okay, I'll bother you then." Chen Lian didn't refuse. Yasuko Tomita was just practicing on her own to find her character status. Chen Lian continued to wash up. While washing his face, he heard Li Dabai's voice coming from outside. "Miss Tomita, why are you here? You didn't know how to do it last night." After hearing what Li Dabai said, Chen Lian knew that Tomita Yasuko didn't understand, but he still stepped out and interrupted her and said, "Tomita Yasuko, come see me off and experience the character's state in advance. Don't make a fuss." "I know, Teacher Chen, but it's not a good idea to ask her to help you pack your luggage, right?" Li Dabai felt that his job was being robbed. Chen Lian wiped his face with a towel in his hand, looked at Yasuko Tomita who was folding the clothes neatly, pursed his lips towards Li Dabai and said, "Learn a little, see how other people fold clothes, and then look at you, forget it, stupid as hell." "I'm just 20 years old," Li Dabai protested in a low voice. "You have to study at a young age." Chen Lian grabbed Li Dabai's shoulders and pushed him to Yasuko Tomita and said, "Watch and study hard. When I come back from Paris, I will check your learning results." "You really don't want me to follow you this time?" Li Dabai turned to look at Chen Lian and asked. Chen Lian shook his head and said, "No, you take the advertising materials back, find the same advertising company last time to do post-production, then send them to CCTV to replace the original ads, and then just fly to Huangshan." "Okay, I promise to complete the task." More than 10 minutes later, Chen Lian looked at the neatly stacked clothes in the box and couldn't help but nod. Japanese women are indeed very skilled in this area. Why do I always think of housekeepers? I really miss those teachers. They are still little girls now. At the door of the hotel, Li Dabai watched Yasuko Tomita and Chen Lian get into the taxi hand in hand. He couldn't help but sigh. He, his assistant, had been abandoned by his boss. At the gate of Nanjing Airport, Chen Lian picked up the suitcase from the trunk, looked at Yasuko Tomita and said, "Jingzi, I'm leaving. You'll wait for me back in Huangshan." Yasuko Tomita looked at Chen Lian and blinked her eyes, then her eyes turned slightly red and she nodded gently. The little girl was quite into the drama, and Chen Lian also cooperated by walking over and hugging her gently, rubbing her head, then picked up the box and left without looking back. This is how Okakawa behaves in the script, let Yasuko Tomita experience it. Yasuko Tomita looked at Chen Lian's back as he strode away, and couldn't help but take 2 steps forward. Finally, he stood there silently and experienced it for a long time. The driver, who had been waiting on the roadside for the return journey, looked at Tomita Yasuko like this and couldn't help but said, "Little girl, everyone has left without even looking back. I don't like you at first glance. Go back and eat a bowl of noodles, have a good sleep and forget about it." The driver's words brought Yasuko Tomita back to her senses, but she didn't understand. She just smiled and bowed to the driver, then opened the door and got in the car. The driver couldn't help but muttered, "How polite." After a troublesome transfer and a long flight, Chen Lian finally landed in Paris more than 10 hours later. After getting off the plane, Chen Lian rushed to Cannes immediately. It was already noon in Paris. When he arrived in Cannes, he simply packed up and attended the closing ceremony in the evening. A few hours later, Chen Lian changed into his suit and looked at himself a little tired in the mirror, feeling that he had entered the state ahead of schedule. After losing out at the evening's awards ceremony, this look was fitting. Gong Li also changed her clothes at this time, looked at Chen Lian's tall back and said, "Did you hear any news when you returned to China this time?" "Which aspect?" Chen Lian turned around and asked. Gong Li adjusted her skirt and said, "Of course it's about the movie. Didn't the domestic media join in the criticism?" Chen Lian nodded and said, "Yes, but very few, but many people in the circle are scolding me. I received a call from teacher Li Qiji. He said that many people in the theater circle were scolding after hearing about Fenjiao's story." Gong Li was stunned for a moment and said strangely, "What are they scolding?" Chen Lian shrugged his shoulders and said, "Who knows, it's probably because the leading figures in the theater world don't like Feng Yu's story. The scene of the pretty boy seducing a woman doesn't seem literary at all to them." Gong Li couldn't help but smile, rolled her eyes at Chen Lian and said, "Isn't it true that the eldest lady seduced the servants, and the servants raped the eldest ladies? So, it's not normal for people to look down on her." Chen Lian felt that there were actually a lot of misunderstandings here, at least not as bad as they thought. It's a pity that they can't see the original film, so this misunderstanding can only continue. Thinking of this, Chen Lian suddenly remembered the comments in the newspaper by Ye Zheyan, the original author of the film, saying that he was very grateful to director Cheng for not signing his name in the film, and also called Fenjiao a bad movie. Gee, this movie was really ill-fated. In the end, it couldn't be released in China. Audiences who couldn't see the original film probably had to believe the one-sided story in the newspaper. In director Cheng's room, he hung up the phone and sat on the chair and couldn't help but sigh. Why did so many things happen to him when he was making a movie? Now it's even problematic to release it. I didn't even have a chance to prove myself to the audience. The review was wrong for me. If we can get a break at night, maybe things will turn around, but is this possible? Director Cheng couldn't help but fantasize about it, and was awakened by a knock on the door after a long time. Standing outside the door were Chen Lian and the others. They no longer had the enthusiasm they had during the opening ceremony. The previous premiere was like a critical illness notice, and now they are finally about to be extubated. Everyone felt a little disappointed. After working with director Cheng for so long, all they wanted to do was win a prize, and now they could only become companions. Soon the door was opened, and director Cheng walked out of it full of energy and confidence. This is what Chen Lian admires most about director Chang. He is really able to hold on and still look confident despite this. After everyone arrived, they went downstairs together. Downstairs in the hotel, Chen Lian saw Sophie Marceau in the lobby, said something to Gong Li and then passed. Zhang Guorong looked at Chen Lian's back and couldn't help but pull down his sunglasses. He turned to look at Gong Li and asked, "You are like this, and he still doesn't want to give up." Gong Li subconsciously touched her belly that was covered by clothes, looked at Leslie Chung and said, "Brother, if I were Chen Lian and we got together, would you give your blessing?" "Yes. But I will give Chen Lian a good beating first." Leslie Chung pushed up his sunglasses, looked at Chen Lian's back and said, "It's just that I don't think he has ever thought about getting married." Gong Li laughed and said, "Actually, I haven't thought about it either." Zhang Guorong was stunned for a moment, then turned to look at Gong Li, only to find that she had already caught up with Director Cheng and the others. Zhang Guorong stood there and couldn't help but raise his hand to touch his eyebrows. He felt as if he had just met Gong Li today. Chen Lian on the other side looked at Sophie Marceau, who called him over and asked, "Why did you call me here?" Sophie Marceau turned around and looked around, then took Chen Lian's hand and whispered, "Feng Yu has failed in all the awards." Chen Lian was stunned for a moment, looked at Sophie Marceau and asked softly, "How do you know? Doesn't the jury keep it secret?" "Of course it's a secret, but Feng Jiu's failure to win the award is not worthy of being kept secret." I asked. After asking about it, Sophie Marceau grabbed Chen Lian's hand and said, "The closing ceremony in the evening is probably not going to go well. Don't be affected." "Force." Chen Lian smiled and said, "I know what's going on, don't worry." "Well, then wait for me after the closing ceremony." "Good." The closing ceremony in the evening is the busiest time of the entire film festival. The closing ceremony is also the awards ceremony, and the highlight is tonight. The red carpet part of the closing ceremony was much grander than the opening ceremony. Even the number of reporters increased several times, and the red carpet was crowded with people. As soon as Chen Lian and the others got out of the car, they were instantly overwhelmed by the flashlights. The dazzling flashlights kept flashing as if they never stopped. Chen Lian felt that his eyes were going blind. Turning his head and taking a look at Gong Li and Zhang Guorong, he found that their faces were calm and not affected by the flash at all. This was all done through practice. Director Cheng seemed to be used to such a scene. He narrowed his eyes slightly and quickly adapted. This time the red carpet was not as smooth as the previous one. Under countless questions and flashing lights, Director Cheng finally came to the end of the red carpet with a stiff smile, but the host of the film festival did not seem to let him go easily. "Plan." The host stopped Director Cheng, who wanted to enter the venue, and asked politely and kindly, "Director Cheng, Feng Jiu has received a lot of negative comments these days. Are you confident in winning the prize?" "There is a hammer." If Director Cheng had a hammer in his hand, he would definitely kill this host with a hammer. Although the director is a cultural person, he still maintained his grace and said, "No matter what others say, I always think Feng Jiu is a very good film. As for the award, it depends on the jury. So do you think those criticisms are malicious? Everyone has a different opinion and that's their freedom." Director Cheng's patience was about to run out. After saying this, he didn't give the host a chance to continue talking and walked directly towards the venue. Chen Lian and the others looked at each other and followed suit. Fortunately, it was the host of the film festival who asked the question, so he had some sense of control. If the reporters wanted to make a stunt, they would probably be able to ask all the ugly things. Director Cheng would probably ask the question. It really broke the defense. The closing ceremony started soon. The first awards announced were all small prizes. No one in the venue paid much attention to them, but the process director was a little nervous. Especially when it came to the Catholic Humanitarian Spirit Award and the Technology Award, I was particularly hoping to win. Hear the word Feng Jiu. there is no hope for the Palme d'Or and the Grand Jury Prize. If I can win a small prize, it will be some consolation. At least it can stop some people's mouths. It's a pity that these two minor awards have nothing to do with Fenjiao. Director Cheng sat up slightly, hunched over, and then pinned his hopes on the actor award. It would be a consolation if I could win an actor award, but if I really can't do it, it would be okay to give me a special jury award. Don't lose everything. Director Cheng prayed silently in his heart. Soon it was the time to award the Best Actress award. Compared to Director Cheng's nervousness, Gong Li seemed to be less concerned. She looked at the guests on the stage with an extremely calm expression, deliberately showing off. Chen Lian turned his head and glanced at Gong Li, who was calm, then looked down at his hand that was tightly grasped, and then gently held Gong Li's hand to give her some comfort. After the award-winning guests on the stage talked for a long time, they finally announced the winner of the Best Actress. The winner of this award for Best Actress is Brenda Bryson from Secrets and Lies. The moment the answer was revealed, Chen Lian felt that Gong Li breathed a sigh of relief, and a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes, but he soon felt relieved. He had been mentally prepared for a long time, and now he was not so disappointed. However, the guide couldn't help but sigh, feeling that he might really have to go home bald. There was probably no hope for the Best Actor award. Director Chen leaned back in his chair and completely gave up his extravagant hopes. He just waited for the awards to be over and then immediately returned to China. He needs comfort now. If there were no Chen Lian in this world, Director Chen would have flown to Canada to propose and get married after his failure in Cannes. It's a pity that Chen Lian is here, so Director Chen can only go back to the capital to find Sister Ni for a hug. The next few major awards have nothing to do with Fenjiao. The only connection is that she ran with her and became someone else's green leaf. Chen Lian looked at Director Cheng's no longer upright figure and couldn't help but sigh. He always felt a little sorry for him. He should go back and give Director Cheng a hat after the award ceremony, so as not to be accused of having his head shaved in Cannes. After the closing ceremony, Director Cheng sat on his chair in silence for 2 minutes before standing up, turning around and going out without saying a word, and then Chen Lian and others followed him out. When walking out of the venue, Chen Lian heard Director Cheng sighing helplessly, and couldn't help but whisper to Gong Li, "Do you think Director Cheng will hide at home and not go out when he returns this time?" Gong Li covered her mouth and said softly, "I don't think he will return to China. He will probably go abroad to avoid the limelight, or go directly to Xiangjiang to prepare for the release of the movie." Chen Lian thought for a moment, and realized that this was not impossible. He glanced at Gong Li's belly and said, "If the movie is released in Hong Kong, don't go there for promotions and just raise your baby in Singapore." Gong Li nodded and said, I know it well. How about I give Director Cheng a gift to comfort him?" Chen Lian suddenly looked at Gong Li and asked. Gong Li said nonchalantly, "It's up to you, but his character won't remember your good qualities. Instead, he will feel embarrassed." "Oh, I'll give it to you too." At night, as soon as Chen Lian sent Gong Li back to find Sophie Marceau, he saw Director Chen walking towards the seaside alone. The sea breeze at night was still a bit chilly. Chen Lian looked at Director Cheng's back and felt that he was so miserable. He must not forget to give Director Cheng a hat tomorrow. Cover yourself with the hat so that you won't be caught by reporters and embarrassed when you return home. Chen Lian couldn't help but clicked his tongue, feeling that he was so considerate, and then walked briskly towards Sophie Marceau's apartment. I don't know what little show Sophie Marceau will prepare tonight, whether it will be a perverted female teacher or a delicate little white flower. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 215. Chapter 210-208. Teacher Chen's Pua. The morning breeze gently blew up the white curtains, and the gently swaying white gauze looked like a goddess's cloak. The soft morning light shines into the bedroom, revealing all the fierce battlefield last night. A nun's outfit was scattered on the smooth floor. There was a dry white mark on the black nun's hat, which seemed to be milk splashed on it. There is an overturned candlestick next to the nun's hat. The extinguished red candle has burned out, and there are marks of solidified wax on the floor. A bottle also fell from the foot of the bed, with Durex lubricant written on it, and the design was a light blue water droplet. On the large double bed, Sophie Marceau was sleeping, with a silver 10-branch necklace wrapped around their joined wrists. The white and tender feet were exposed outside the blanket, painted with red nail polish, and there were a few red marks on the smooth solace that were about to disappear. Chen Lian opened his eyes hazily, and what he saw was a layer of hazy black lace, with a strange smell of rosebuds. Chen Lian raised his hand and took off the triangular eye patch covering his eyes, then threw it aside. Turning his head to glance at Sophie Marceau, who was still sleeping soundly, Chen Lian lazily turned over and held her in his arms. Sophie Marceau seemed to be having a nightmare and was burned. She hummed in a daze and huddled into the blanket. Chen Lian gently patted Sophie Marceau across the blanket to soothe her restless heart. Proper exercise in the early morning is good for the body. Just like actors, they should often open their voices and do oral exercises to exercise their oral muscles, which can greatly improve their line skills. After the morning exercise, Sophie Marceau looked at Chen Lian, who was still energetic, and couldn't help but raise her hand and hit him lightly. Last night, Chen Lian lied to her about unlocking some 3-link and 1-reach achievement. It was really exhausting. Let him go to the airport alone today. He won't be able to walk without seeing him off. Chen Lian, who has unlocked new achievements, feels that not winning the award at Cannes is no big deal. This trip to the closing ceremony is still meaningful. The opening ceremony was very meaningful, but I don't know if Lu Xiaoli has dealt with her own affairs now. She must have a lot of things to deal with after being divorced and raising a baby. Chen Lian was thinking as he looked at the rows of hats on the shelves. He randomly picked a blue beret and asked the waiter to put it on. The green beret next to him fell from the shelf with a clatter. Unfortunately, Chen Lian didn't even look at it. Look. Of course, giving gifts shouldn't be so ambiguous, nor should they be so mean. Hats of certain colors have already been given away, so you can't just get an advantage and act nice. We gave the gift so that no one would know that director Cheng had his head shaved in Cannes, and it was not for fun. Chen Lian looked at the beautifully packaged box and nodded with satisfaction. 10 minutes later, Chen Lian returned to the hotel and met director Cheng, who was about to return to China. He immediately greeted him and handed over the beautifully packaged hat in his hand. Director Cheng, this is a gift for you. You have to bring something back when you come to France. Director Cheng looked at the box that Chen Lian handed over. He always felt that Chen Lian was connoting himself. However, there were many people present, so he took it with a smile, looked at him and said, "Thank you then." Chen Lian said with a smile on his face, "You're welcome. I hope you like this gift. I've been picking it up for a long time." "I trust your vision," Director Cheng replied with a smile, handed the hat box to the assistant behind him, said hello to Chen Lian and the others and left. After Director Cheng left, Chen Lian went upstairs to find Gong Li, who was sitting on the bed and packing clothes. "What time is the flight?" Chen Lian asked, sitting next to Gong Li. Gong Li ignored Chen Lian and folded the clothes in her hands. "Dog man. Still no to come back." Chen Lian reached out and took the clothes from Gong Li's hand, glanced at a red bra, and then said to Gong Li gently, "Are you angry?" Gong Li snorted and said, "Because of you?" "That's not the case." Oh, Chen Lian put the folded clothes aside and put one hand on Gong Li's swollen belly and said, "I will go see you after I return to China and finish filming. It's up to you. I'm afraid that some little goblin will take away my soul again." I saw someone dancing before and I ran to help. Sure enough, I had already thought about it. Gong Li was unforgiving, but she did not avoid Chen Lian. His actions allowed him to get close to his unborn daughter. Sister, you know me, how could I take the initiative? It just happened to happen. Chen Lian coughed and thought about giving Li Dabai a beating. Say everything out loud. Gong Li snorted and was too lazy to expose Chen Lian, but she still warned him, tell me about your assistant later. He was bribed so easily. He is still too young. If you really can't, please replace him. Chen Lian hummed, and sighed for Li Dabai in his heart. How can a second-year-old boy be so easy to be a fool? Seeing that Gong Li's attitude had softened a bit, Chen Lian stopped mentioning what happened just now and changed the topic to talk about something else. Have you looked at the painting I drew every day recently? Looking at it, do you really think that the girl you painted is actually a girl? You don't understand, this is a heart-to-heart connection between father and daughter. After the two of them got along for a while, Gong Li's temper disappeared without a trace. A few hours later, at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, after Chen Lian sent Gong Li off to the plane, he turned and walked towards the boarding gate of his flight. After flying back and forth for 2 consecutive days, Chen Lian felt that he was busier than the president, and he didn't know what he was busy with. He spent a lot of money even though he didn't have enough fame. But most of the time in life, isn't it just messing around like this, tossing hard and running wild? After Chen Lian nestled in his seat and recalled the madness last night for a while, he slowly closed his eyes and fell asleep. He was so exhausted. When Chen Lian landed in Beijing again, Li Dabai was already waiting at the airport. There were very few people here to pick up the plane in the middle of the night. The young and beautiful Li Dabai stood out among the crowd. Chen Lian walked over carrying the box, looked at Li Dabai and asked, "Have you bought the ticket to Huangshan?" Seeing that Chen Lian had no intention of chatting, Li Dabai also swallowed the words he had been holding back for 2 days and quickly replied, "I bought it. The earliest flight will take off in an hour and a half." Chen Lian hummed and asked, "How was the commercial handled?" "It has been handed over to the advertising company to work overtime." After Li Dabai said this, he looked at Chen Lian with some confusion, as if he had something to say. Chen Lian looked at Li Dabai, who was hesitant to speak, and asked, "If you have anything to say, just say it. Don't hesitate. I'm still in a hurry to change my flight. There will be times when you hesitate." Seeing that Chen Lian didn't seem to be in a bad mood, Li Dabai whispered, "I went to the advertising agency yesterday and met Beauty Chen, but I didn't say hello to her, but she gave me a business card later." Chen Lian frowned slightly, looked at Li Dabai and asked, "Why did she go to the advertising agency? Why did she give you a business card?" Logically speaking, Myron Chen didn't know that Li Dabai was her assistant, so how could she give her a business card? Li Dabai immediately explained, "She seems to have gone to discuss cooperation with the advertising company. She thought I was a big customer of the advertising company, so she wanted to secretly pry the customer." Chen Lian, it unfolded unexpectedly. After understanding it, Chen Lian thought for a moment and said, "Okay, I'll leave it to you. Just keep it. Go back and deal with the advertising matter as soon as possible, and go to CCTV to replace it as soon as possible. New products have been launched, and the advertising has not been changed yet." "I understand. I'll go to the advertising agency to keep an eye on him later." Li Dabai felt that Chen Lian's attitude towards him recently seemed to be less gentle than before. Chen Lian frowned and thought for a while and said, "After the advertising matter is over, there is no need to go to Huangshan for the time being. You stay in the capital and stand by. There may be things you need to deal with later." "Huh?" Li Dabai was stunned for a moment, then pursed his lips and said something. Teacher Chen is indeed angry with himself. It seems that the queen is still unreliable. She must follow Teacher Chen's steps closely from now on. Regarding Li Dabai's silly behavior, Chen Lian was not embarrassed. After all, she was a young girl in her early 20s. She had never seen the dangers of people's hearts. It was normal for her to be fooled by Gong Li, but she had to remember this time. Just a lesson. If he really wanted to find an assistant who was mature and knew how to do things, Chen Lian would feel uneasy. Only an assistant he had trained by himself would be safe to take with him. Trust and tacit understanding are cultivated little by little, so adjust them slowly. For more than an hour, Li Dabai sat next to Chen Lian and dared not speak. When Chen Lian was about to board the plane, he suddenly plucked up the courage and said to Chen Lian, "Teacher Chen, I will definitely be a qualified assistant. I promise I won't let you down again." Chen Lian looked at Li Dabai, who was vowing, and believed that she had this determination, but the details would depend on her subsequent performance. "Dabai, I have always believed in you. You are not only an assistant to me, but also a friend," Chen Lian rubbed Li Dabai's head and said. Li Dabai felt Chen Lian's warm palm, squinting his eyes happily, shouting in his heart, "He's back, that tenderness and trust are back." Chen Lian took back his hand with a smile and said to Li Dabai, "Okay, go back and rest early. You must have not slept well if you come here in the middle of the night." "I'm not tired. I'll go to the advertising company later to keep an eye on the post-production process and ensure that the ads are sent to CCTV on time," Li Dabai shouted energetically. If it weren't for the inappropriate occasion, she would have wanted to shout that women of the common people are willing to do their best for the emperor. Horse. Chen Lian smiled with satisfaction, then picked up the box and said to Li Dabai, "Don't be too tired, I'm leaving first, be careful on the way back." When Chen Lian's figure disappeared into the passage, Li Dabai was still thinking about Chen Lian's head-slapping kill just now, and secretly laughed before turning around and walking away with cheerful steps, hands behind his back. Sitting on the plane, Chen Lian thought of Li Dabai's behavior just now, and secretly cursed himself like those black-hearted capitalists. How could he still learn Pua? But it works pretty well, I'll try it next time. The plane landed in Huangshan soon. There are only 50 airports in the country, and there is one in Huangshan. You can imagine how popular tourism is here. However, Huangshan's airport is a bit shabby, ranking 8th from the bottom among the 50 airports in the country, but it is enough to carry tourists. There are still too few people flying these days. The annual passenger throughput of Huangshan Airport is less than 200,000, with a total of more than 40 takeoff and landing routes. However, it is the peak tourist season in Huangshan, and there are still many tourists at the airport. Chen Lian looked at the brightly dressed tourists in the cabin, all of whom were either rich or noble. After all, a plane ticket that costs several hundred yuan is not something that ordinary working-class people are willing to waste. A plane ticket is almost as much as a month's salary, so who is willing to spend this money? Even 20 years from now, most people will still choose trains when traveling, and there will be many people who have never flown. Air tickets are just too expensive. It would be much better if you were a civilian. However, there are only so many domestic routes and there are so many people traveling, so it is unrealistic to make it cheaper. Moreover, there are so many main railway lines, which determines everyone's travel methods. Still mainly trains. After Chen Lian came out of the airport, he encountered many motorcycles and three-wheelers soliciting passengers, making it look like a train station. The motorcycle driver was very skilled and drove steadily and fast, but Chen Lian was a little tired from sitting behind and holding the box, for fear that his box would fall if the rope was not tied tightly. The roads in Huangshan are very distinctive, with ups and downs like endless hills. Riding a motorcycle feels like a roller coaster. The airport was far away from Nanping village where Chen Lian wanted to go, more than 50 kilometers away. It took Chen Lian nearly 2 hours to get there. "Boss, we're here. This is Nanping village. You have to pay to go in," so I can only deliver it here. Chen Lian nodded, then took out 20 yuan from his pocket and handed it to the master. Chen Lian thought the price was quite cheap. It was much cheaper than taxis in Beijing anyway. The driver took the money with a smile, showed off his driving skills, swung it over the front of the car and left, much faster than when he came. Looking at the beautiful Nanping village, Chen Lian couldn't help but take a deep breath, and then choked on the motorcycle exhaust remaining in the air. Chen Lian smelled the exhaust and regretted the extra $2 he had just given. He paid too little attention to after-sales service. Nanping village is still very famous in China, and also in the film and television circles. Many movies have been shot here, and Gong Li's Judo was also shot here. Huizhou architecture has its own unique charm, but Christ in Nanjing will not show so many Huizhou buildings. After all, what we want to shoot is the background of Nanjing. The buildings in Nanping village are very distinctive. When Chen Lian walks among the white walls and grey tiles, he always thinks of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was also shot here later. After walking through an alley, Chen Lian came to the hotel in the village. At the door of the hotel, Chen Lian saw the cruise car and recognized the two photography assistants smoking at the door. He nodded to them and went in. This hotel is not big, and there are not many rooms. It is basically full with dozens of crew members staying here, but Oyu Dingping still left a single room for Chen Lian. This is the treatment for a leading actor. It is much better than being the second male lead under director Cheng. The rooms here are relatively tight, and the conditions are not very good. There is only this single room. Oyu Dingping opened the door and led Chen Lian in and said, "But this room has an independent bathroom, which is pretty good." After Chen Lian came in, he put down his box and said, "It's pretty good. I was ready to live with others when I came here." "Haha, that's not possible. Shifen specifically told me to take good care of you." Oyu Dingping is much older than Chen Shifen, and the title is very casual, and the two of them have a good relationship. Chen Lian said politely, "Thank you, director, for taking care of me. You came." Suddenly, Yasuko Tomida's gasping voice came from the door of the room, and both Chen Lian and Oyu Dingping turned to look over. The bright sunshine shining on Yasuko Tomida's face was particularly moving, and the broken hair scattered on her temples gave her a touch of softness. Chen Lian and Oyu Dingping looked at her as if they saw the golden flower in the script walking out. Oyu Dingping couldn't help but sigh in his heart, then turned to look at Chen Lian and said, "Then you guys chat, I'll go prepare for tomorrow's work." After that, Oyu Dingping left. When he reached the end of the corridor, he looked back and saw Tomita Yasuko entering the room before going downstairs. It is best to develop a relationship between the actors and actresses, so that filming will be much easier. Moreover, the love in this movie is too lingering and tragic. If you rely solely on acting skills, it will be difficult to make the movie exciting. It would be best for Yasuko Tomita and Chen Lian to develop some feelings and understanding before filming starts. As for what happens to the two of them after filming is over, Oyu Dingping doesn't care. The young people's affairs are left to them to consider on their own. In the small single room, Yasuko Tomita leaned against the wall with one hand and looked at Chen Lian. There was surprise and longing in her eyes, and she was obviously a little bit into the drama. This girl seems to have really sacrificed herself for this role. I don't know how much emotion she put into it during this time. Chen Lian put down the box in his hand. Seeing that Yasuko Tomita hadn't spoken yet, he watched her come over, took the box and said to Chen Lian, "I'll help you pack it." Chen Lian, "Okay." He was either asking people to work on purpose, or he was trying not to damage Yasuko Tomita's state. He was an actor himself and knew that the state was hard won. But it's just for packing up your things. You can't take the opportunity to touch others. That would be too impolite and unartistic. Yasuko Tomita sat on the bed and took out Chen Lian's clothes one by one, talking to herself in Japanese while tidying them up. However, Chen Lian didn't understand either and could only stay silent. After saying several words, Tomita Yasuko didn't hear Chen Lian's response, and suddenly realized that he was speaking in Japanese, so he immediately switched to English and spoke again. Jun Lian, I specially cleaned your room for you. All the bedding has been dried. Chen Lian reached out and touched the soft quilt, then looked at Tomita Yasuko and said, Thank you, how have you been these days? Yasuko Tomita hugged Chen Lian's clothes and thought for a moment and said, The scenery here is very beautiful. I like it so much, but when I see the scenery, I can't share it with you immediately. Are you still willing to share with me now? Chen Lian asked, looking into Yasuko Tomita's pure eyes. Yasuko Tomita smiled and nodded heavily. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 216. Chapter 211-209. It's really broken. In the misty and rainy village, a steady drizzle fell from the sky, and the raindrops fell along the blue-gray tile edges and onto the bluestone slabs. The bluestone slabs were washed clean and bright by the rain, and the calm water surface of the small puddle reflected the gray sky. 2 feet, one big and one small, landed on the bluestone at the same time, stepping on the sky reflected in the puddle, like a dreamy bubble bursting instantly. The patter of footsteps matches the sound of raindrops falling on the bluestone, forming a collaborative song after the rain. Chen Lian hugged Yasuko Tomita and hid under a porch. He looked up at the sky where it suddenly started to rain lightly. He wondered if God deliberately created a romance for them. The hair on Yasuko Tomita's forehead was wet from the rain and stuck to her face, and a tiny drop of water hung on her long eyelashes. When she blinked lightly, it turned into water vapor and appeared in her beautiful eyes. Chen Lian took out a square towel that he hadn't used for a long time from his pocket, raised his hand and gently wiped the water droplets off her face. Tomita Yasuko suddenly raised his hand and grabbed Chen Lian's palm, gently rubbed her face in his palm, and looked at Chen Lian affectionately with misty eyes. Chen Lian gently took out his palm, brushed her wet hair away, and said with a smile, It seems that I can't share your happiness today. Yasuko Tomita felt a little disappointed in her heart, but she still said with a smile, We can continue after the rain stops. Okay, let's wait until the rain stops, Chen Lian said with a smile. Light rain continued to fall in the gray sky, and the raindrops seemed to be tireless. Chen Lian and Tomita Yasuko hid under the door, looking at the thin silver lines in the sky, and their bodies came closer unknowingly. A breeze blew by, and Yasuko Tomita couldn't help but sneeze. Her body trembled slightly, and she subconsciously shrank into Chen Lian's arms. After a slight hesitation, Chen Lian stretched out his arms to hug her petite body. Tomita Yasuko also hugged Chen Lian's waist and pressed against his chest, feeling the warmth of his body. Yasuko Tomita listened to Chen Lian's strong heartbeat and breathed out gently, as if she was exhaling all the cold air in her body. After a while, the rain stopped, but the two of them stopped looking at the scenery in the village. Yasuko Tomita had some signs of a cold. Chen Lian was worried that she might develop a fever if she continued to wear wet clothes, so he took her back to the hotel. In Yasuko Tomita's room, Chen Lian went to the bathroom and turned on the shower. Hot water poured out instantly, and soon the room was filled with heat. After adjusting the water temperature, Chen Lian came out and looked at Yasuko Tomita, who was sitting by the bed wiping her hair, and said, Take a hot bath and then have a good sleep. You will be fine when you wake up tomorrow. I'll go back first. If you need anything, call me. Yasuko Tomita wrapped her long hair in a towel, looked at Chen Lian and said, Do you want to go back? Chen Lian gently shook his soaked clothes and said, I also want to go back and take a hot bath. The sound of rushing water in the bathroom rang in Yasuko Tomita's ears. She inexplicably thought of the plot in the script where Jinhua and Okazawa took a bath together. Her face turned slightly red and she said, Okay, See you tomorrow. Chen Lian hummed and said, if you still feel uncomfortable after taking a bath, remember to tell me and I will send you medicine. Yasuko Tomita nodded slightly, and breathed an inexplicable sigh of relief when Chen Lian went out. Just now, she had been suppressing her impulse and did not dare to say anything, for fear that she would leave Chen Lian behind if she acted impulsively. It would be best if she could stay. If she was rejected, the film would be completely impossible to film. For the sake of her own desperate future, Tomita Yasuko would not do anything too impulsive. Normally intimate actions and behaviors shouldn't have any impact, but if he really asked to keep someone, Yasuko Tomita wasn't sure whether Chen Lian would refuse, so she didn't dare to take the risk. This role is too important for her. It is an opportunity for her to become famous again. Even if she cannot become popular in Japan, having some fame in China will help her career. This is also the reason why Tomita Yasuko is so devoted, and of course Chen Lian is also indispensable. Facing such a man, it is difficult not to be moved. I'm going to try to take it a step further tomorrow and secretly kiss him. In the steamy bathroom, the warm water flowed down Yasuko Tomita's black hair and collarbone. She closed her eyes and enjoyed the comfort brought by the hot bath, but the description of the script always sounded in her mind. Yasuko Tomita opened her eyes and looked down at her delicate little feet. Her toes couldn't help curling up, thinking whether Chen Lian liked feet as much as Okegawa did. The answer to this question can only be known during filming. After all, who would talk about their XP on the street? Isn't this a perversion? Chen Lian had already finished taking a shower and was lying on the bed, flipping through the novel The Christ of Nanjing. Looking at the many detailed descriptions in it, he couldn't help but mutter, why does the author like feet so much? It's not serious. How can he write about his XP? It's in the book. But it's quite satisfying, Chen Lian muttered and continued reading. The next morning, Chen Lian got up early and started the filming today. The crew of Xiangjiang was quite particular and had a troublesome starting ceremony, so it had to be done earlier. More than an hour later, Chen Lian followed Ou Dingping in offering incense and bowing. After everyone on the crew had finished praying, he lifted the red cloth on the camera and officially started filming. In the small river in Nanping village, an old wooden boat gently cut through the water and passed under a stone bridge. The young and handsome Japanese writer Okegawa stood on the bow of the boat, gently pushing aside the willow branches hanging down on the river. Looking at the scenery of the Kinhua River with curiosity and wonder in his eyes. The flower building with red lanterns, the beautiful girl leaning against the window, and the scent of rouge brought by the waving handkerchief all made the young Okegawa particularly fascinated. This is something he has never seen in Japan and is extremely longing for. As a writer, his source of inspiration has dried up for a long time, so he came to the city that he longs for most. After arriving here, he felt that his life suddenly came to life, and the dry spring of inspiration began to slowly nourish new inspiration. Yasuko Tomita stood on the shore and watched Chen Lian's performance. She felt that the performance was very good, but she couldn't tell what was good about it. She just felt that he was the person in the script, but he was a little different. Ou Dingping looked at Chen Lian in the camera and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He acted very well, much better than he thought, a young man from a foreign country, an author full of curiosity and desire to learn about stories. Few people in Xiangjiang can surpass this kind of performance. Ou Dingping couldn't help but said to the assistant director next to him. The assistant director nodded and said, you have the quality of a movie star, and the performance is so natural. The academics in the mainland are still very good. Ou Dingping also nodded, looked at the scene in the camera, and then shouted "Ka!" The first shot was completed with the perfect cooperation between Chen Lian and the crew. The next scenes will be relatively difficult, but Chen Lian has always performed with ease. Playing a passionate scumbag writer is too easy for him. Act in your true colors. The only difference with the characters is that Chen Lian is not affectionate, but Okakawa falls madly in love with Jinhua at the end. It is the most difficult for Chen Lian to play the role. The progress of the shooting is neither too fast nor too slow. Ou Dingping has his own unique rhythm in controlling and scheduling the shooting scene. He will neither polish a shot dozens of times nor go through it casually. He has a good balance between the two. Good. The most important thing is that he is willing to give Chen Lian the space to perform and will not force him to act in any way. Even if he doesn't like some of Chen Lian's performances, he will only let Chen Lian try a few more times and try a few different treatments. When Ou Dingping asked Chen Lian to try a few more times for the first time, he thought he didn't perform well, so he did it again according to the original performance. However, Ou Dingping still didn't say anything and still asked Chen Lian to try different things. Processing method. After trying 3 or 4 times in a row, Chen Lian understood that it was not that he was deliberately embarrassing himself, but that Ou Dingping was also looking for the most suitable and desired shot. Perhaps he did not have a fixed template for the role of Okazawa in his heart. Image. Under Chen Lian's performance and after a little bit of running in, Ou Dingping found the most perfect Okazawa in Chen Lian. Directors and actors achieve each other. If the director only cares about his own expression, it will be difficult for the actor to meet his requirements even if he tries his best. The actor also has his own understanding and processing of the role. He is not an AI robot who inputs the script. The template will be automatically generated. The reason why there is a science of acting is because actors are also creating characters. It is difficult for directors who only care about their own expression to produce wonderful works. Director Chang, who was far away in the capital, couldn't help but sneeze while looking at the beret in his hand, and then threw the hat in the corner. It was a broken hat. He thought it was some kind of gift from Chen Lian. If you have the ability, give me an oil painting. After a busy day, Master Chen returned to the hotel and before he could rest, Yasuko Tomita came over. Want to go out for a walk together? Chen Lian took off the suit he wore for filming and threw it on the bed and said, "Okay, I've prepared an umbrella this time." Hearing Chen Lian's words, Tomita Yasuko couldn't help but smile, stood at the door and said sideways, "Then let's go." After returning to the place where they took shelter from the rain yesterday, the two of them continued walking towards the alley they had not finished yesterday. "Do you believe in religion?" Chen Lian suddenly asked. Tomita Yasuko was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and said, "I have no religious beliefs, and I only recently started to come into contact with Christianity. I have come into contact with people who have pure religious beliefs. They have a very peaceful and optimistic spirit. Their faith gives them great strength." Chen Lian paused and said, "Jinhua was originally such a person, but when she encountered after arriving in Okagawa, love and faith collided. Do you think love is greater or faith is greater?" Yasuko Tomita thought for a while and said, "I think I will be the same as Jinhua. I believe more in love. Faith and God are too far away and too illusory to support everything of a person." Chen Lian nodded and said with a smile, "You are becoming more and more like a golden flower. You are becoming more and more like Okazawa." Yasuko Tomita hugged Chen Lian's arm, turned to look at him and asked, "Will you fall in love with the drama?" "It's easy to fall in love when you put yourself into the role. Yes or no, I make a very clear distinction between characters and reality. Of course it is natural to have a good impression, but it is not so easy to fall in love. I feel like it's hard for you to fall in love with someone. Maybe, or maybe I haven't met that person. Then have you ever thought about what kind of person you would fall in love with? Will it be someone as innocent as Jinhua?" Yasuko Tomita grabbed Chen Lian's arm and felt a little nervous. She looked into Chen Lian's eyes and waited for his answer. Chen Lian thought for a moment and said, "I think so. The golden flowers in the script made me see what love looks like and I am willing to believe in it." Hearing Chen Lian's words, Yasuko Tomita smiled sweetly, and her steps became much brisker. "You seem very happy," Chen Lian asked, looking at the smile on Yasuko Tomida's face. Tomita Yasuko turned to look at Chen Lian and said, "Because I am the golden flower." Under the gloomy sky and in the dim alley, Yasuko Tomida's smile was very bright, illuminating everything around her like a ray of light. Tomita Yasuko suddenly came close to Chen Lian and looked into his eyes. Chen Lian's face was reflected in her bright and pure eyes. Then she took advantage of his daze and kissed him gently on the face. Just when Yasuko Tomita showed secret joy and was about to run away, Chen Lian put his arms around her waist and pulled her into his arms. "He deliberately attacked you. He really thought he could run away." Tomita Yasuko ran straight into Chen Lian's arms, looked up at Chen Lian's somewhat strong eyes, and subconsciously bit her lip. Chen Lian looked at Yasuko Tomita's innocent and alluring look, lowered his head and kissed her soft lips. Tomita Yasuko subconsciously let go of Chen Lian's hand, then lifted up and hugged Chen Lian, responding to him with forgetfulness. The dark clouds in the sky were getting thicker and thicker, a white light flashed among the clouds, and the roaring thunder accompanied the heavy rain that fell instantly. The two of them were kissing each other passionately. Neither of them paid attention to the heavy rain. The big black umbrella Chen Lian was carrying was lying lonely on the blue stone. More than 10 minutes later, the two of them were soaked in water and ran back to the hotel. As soon as the two of them entered Chen Lian's room, they slammed the door and hugged each other without caring about each other's wet clothes. The rain dripped down the clothes of the two people and fell on the smooth floor, and then the wet clothes were thrown on the ground. There was also the sound of the shower running in the bathroom, and two people were talking quietly. "Want to give it a try?" Tomita Yasuko's playful voice sounded. Chen Lian frowned slightly. "Are you talking about a trial at this time?" He looked at Yasuko Tomita in front of him and asked, "Which section? Do you like feet?" Yasuko Tomita gently raised her foot, stepped on Chen Lian's foot and said, "Just try that part, okay?" Chen Lian looked at Tomita Yasuko, who was eager to try, and felt as if he was being treated as a tool, but he was happy to be such a tool. Tomita Yasuko couldn't tell whether she regarded Chen Lian as a tool for her to enter the drama, or whether she really wanted to have something with him from her heart. She watched him in a daze as he grabbed her feet and scratched them gently. The itching feeling instantly made Yasuko Tomita's body soften, and she leaned against the wall and stared blankly at Chen Lian's meticulous audition. Has he tried acting secretly? Why is he so skilled? Why does he have more actions and tricks than what is in the script? Are artists and writers the same? It turns out they both have such strange XP. Their hobbies are really strange. It's so strange. Why do they feel like this? Yasuko Tomita felt as if she had become a tool for Chen Lian to experiment with all kinds of strange knowledge. Hot water was sprinkled on Yasuko Tomita's face, making her feel her body warm up. The wet water stains were a bit greasy. How could it be greasy? Why is there so much hot water? Can't the faucet be turned off? It feels broken. It's really broken.